to set the world on fire.
Please welcome Tom Dummary. I'm here, and your white privilege isn't going to save you tonight, okay, guys?
Desire, and that one is you. No other will do. I've lost all ambition for worldly acclaim.
Any government is to monopolize as much violence as possible in order for it to inflict it on as many citizens as possible.
I've been on this like weird anarchist arc for a few months now. This is playing by their rules, exactly how they are written.
I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame.
You're watching the Dog and Chicken Show. Like, share, subscribe.
That's right. It's time for the Dog and Chicken Show.
Well, how are we doing this evening, all you beautiful people? And let me just make double dog that you are getting every beautiful note that is my voice. Yes, you are, folks. So how are we doing this evening, folks? There is a lot to discuss this evening. It's been a while since your King of Extreme has graced you with his presence. It is planting season, folks, and it is one of my busiest times of year, and that's why I'm not able to get on live with you until 11 tonight. So we are doing late night streaming, folks, but we got a lot of big stuff to hit on here, folks. We got a lot of things that we need to touch on. We're going to touch on the gun issue with a video from Cypher. We're going to touch on the abortion Roe v. Wade issue with a reading of me reading an article from Nate Dallin, and then me, Chicken, Tony, and Dad's Worldwide, Brendan's reaction to it. But first, we're going to get into, of course, after you subscribe to K.O.E Nation on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch, we're going to get into Vaush. We're going to get into that right off the bat here, folks. So, all you beautiful people, strap in. You know, whenever I do one of these streams, it's kind of like I'm leading you into battle. You're not all going to be here when it's over. But so, folks, gather one, gather all, come one, come all, folks, for the K.O.E Nation is here to bring you the topics and the discussions of the day, folks. So this first one, I'm just going to give you a very, very, very quick little audio intro here. So, folks, well, hang on one moment here. Much better. You got to remember, I'm broadcasting in my soybean mill, so there's always soybean dust. But, folks, let's get right into it. So, Vaush has openly advocated for violence against those who he politically disagrees with. You're thinking, no way, got to be hyperbole, right? That's not the case. Well, folks, unfortunately, that is the case. I mean, just monstrous stuff here. But I'm going to be going off of Destiny's video, and I'm just going to give you the intro here, but this is really all you need. And I'm going to be giving you my analysis on this. But yes, Vaush advocating for violence against those that he disagrees with. I've actually been on a panel with this man before, and I'll get into that a little later, but this really disproves a lot of what he's said lately. So without further ado, here we go.
They are evil. They're murderers. And I think it's okay to tell people that. If that makes them go out and buy guns and ammo and prepare for a day where they try to enact that genocide, then all better for it.
Jesus Christ. Kill them. And then he paused a super long time, was like, socially, you know, politically.
Good Lord.
And they wants to, the Republican Party, the modern Republican Party wants to personally murder every minority that lives within the border of the country. And
did he really say that verbatim?
There might be clashes between state guard or police. You know, some police might try to.
Can we please?
There were like those Patriot Prayer dumb fucks rolling their, you know, $60,000 trucks through like urban neighborhoods with a bunch of guys with guns in the pickup trucks. When that happens, I want people to be able to take shots at them from apartment windows.
Take shit. They weren't.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm gonna go back so you can hear that again.
State guard or police, you know, some police might try to.
Can we please?
There were like those Patriot Prayer dumb fucks rolling their, you know, $60,000 trucks through like urban neighborhoods with a bunch of guys with guns in the pickup trucks. When that happens, I want people to be able to take shots at them from apartment windows.
Take shit. They weren't. There's okay. If you want to drive around with guns, you have the right to do that in the United States, even during protests. What do you mean you want people shooting at them for doing it?
Be treating Republicans as what they actually are: evil and immediately threatening. 30% of Republicans believe that violence might be necessary to fix the direction the country is on. I'm sure there are far fewer liberals as a percentage who would believe that. If I am to be one of the left-leaning people who will openly advocate for that, then let me be that person.
I don't think there's enough evidence to prove to people.
Then you're a stooge.
Planning to kill people. We should be able to be
dude, Vaush is ready to hang up. Oh my God.
So, folks, I mean, that was just the intro there. But no, I do not. Let me get through these comments. Has he been canceled yet? No. Should buy him some Aviator gin. Buy even. Vaush is your new Stalin. Yeah, folks. I mean, he is tanky Rush Limbaugh in every regard. He is everything that he espoused, that he pretended to hate. He is now all that and more. He's openly advocating for violence against people who think differently from him. I mean, he's calling Republicans evil, but the things that he is advocating for are unironically evil. So at this point, yeah, there was a YouTube video that actually I was featured in just for a few seconds called Vaush is Unironically Evil. And unfortunately, after hearing this, I have to sign off on that because what he is doing is what's called stochastic terrorism. And what that is somebody like, you see this all the time in the movies where some like cult leader like jazzes everybody up and then sends them out to go do what they actually wanted. A classic Charles Manson thing. It's stochastic terrorism. So, so I really do think what Vaush is trying to do is trying to wind up his lefty audience to go do something really, really, really bad. That's unfortunate, but I think that's where he's going with this. At this point, he's one of those accelerationists that's like, oh God, the world's just so awful, and we need to bring the revolution now. And the thing that a lot of people forget is revolutions generally don't end with better conditions for the people involved. The American Revolution was an exception, not the rule. Usually, revolutions just break all the nice things, and then people live in worse conditions than they had previously. So, especially like a socialist revolution, all of those end horribly for everybody involved. So, Vaush, I almost wonder if he's starting to believe his own bullshit here, because originally when I first saw him a few years ago, it's like, oh, okay, this guy's like a lefty televangelist preacher. If you just donate your money to me, then I can give you absolution and penance from all of your compromises with capitalism that you've made. And it was a beautiful grift, really. And it was really something. But I think what happened was the Andrew Dice Clay. Now, what a lot of people don't know is Andrew Dice Clay, the comedian, that's not his real name. His name's like Andrew Weinstein or something like that. Let's see. Y'all gonna stay up for the meteor shower? I mean, I might have a video playing while that goes and go out and check it out myself. Imagine Vaush fighting. I've often said, like, I'd love to do a charity boxing match for, like, you know, all the proceeds get donated to charity. And like, yeah, I mean, anybody like that, I'd love to. You know, just so long as the proceeds get donated to charity, I think that's a worthwhile cause. That's why well, thank you for joining us, Heather. Nonetheless, despite your reasoning, got storms, can't see anything. You know, there is some pretty interesting thunderstorms out in that direction. But like the way that he's progressed in this, when he went from televangelist preacher, but now I remember where I was going with this, from televangelist preacher to Andrew Dice Clay. Because what happened was the Dice Man was just one particular character that Andrew, I believe his name is Weinstein, would perform on stage. It was just, hey, the Dice Man, hey, and he got better reactions with the Dice Man. And then over time, the Dice Man became the only person he did on stage. And then when you saw him on stage, he was Andrew Dice Clay, hey! And then this very strange thing happened. Then it became who he was off stage as well. And then when his friends would talk to him, it was now Andrew Dice Clay, hey! Fucking A right, the adventures of Ford Fairlane. 1 second. Yeah, even lost my headphones in that one. My God, disaster. But I think Vaush has kind of done a Andrew Dice Clay, where at first he was just putting on a gimmick for the money. Like, he was making good money. So yeah, you keep the gimmick up. You keep, and he had marks. If you donated money to Vaush at any point in your life, you are a fucking mark. That you got fucking worked, and Vaush worked you, and you are a mark, and you will always be a mark. I'm sorry. Like that is kind of a badge you have to wear if you've ever donated money to Vaush. You're one of his marks. But then I think something really happened. Something really weird happened where with Vaush, he just kept getting so much positive feedback loop from people that his weird bullshit character became who he is now. And now he's actually believing his own bullshit. And now he's like, oh, we got to do the socialist revolution now. It's like, oh, Jesus. Sounds Jungian. Persona becoming ego. Oh, that's definitely what happened with Vaush. His persona became his entire personality now. I mean, think about it. I mean, he's so invested in this public persona that, yeah, they're like, I don't know what Vaush's real name is, but to him, Vaush has to be far more real than whatever his birth name was to him. Let's see. ADC was funny. I don't know what that is. Sorry. Vaush is just evil. Yeah. Little boy blue, he needs the money. Yeah, what does that acronym mean? Sorry, I'm drawn. Oh, Andrew Dice Clay. Okay, now I remember. It's like, yeah, not to like. Sorry, chicken. That's not a very common acronym. Okay, it's like, oh, ADC. Obviously, you're talking about Andrew Dice Clay. Like, come on now. All I can think of now is Little Miss Muffet. But so then you just saw this guy is now openly advocating for like Patriot Prayer people and people open carrying in their trucks and people just open carrying to be shot. And when he says that like they're evil and a threat, that is a form of stochastic terrorism. That's the word of the night. Try and say that 3 times fast. Stochastic terrorism, stochastic terrorism, stochastic terrorism. Okay, there we go. So this is a very bad turn, folks. If you are a Vaush listener, do better. Be better. You can be better. Okay? Like, at least Hassan keeps his attempts at stochastic terrorism still like reading between the lines. They're still there, but you have to read between the lines at least a little more. But yeah, this is all I can think of now is Little Miss Muffet. Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet to eat her curds and whey. Like I always like how you can find a TikTok video about, did you know that Little Miss Muffet was about like an entire village burning to the ground and everybody dying? Like, I always love when you find one of those TikToks. It's like, oh, motherfucker. But so the final word on Vaush is, I've actually been on a panel with him before. It was one where he was not doing well. He was calling every Republican a fascist. And so I kind of confronted him and I said, what percentage of Republican voters do you define as fascist? And he said, well, how many voted for Trump? Ooh, And now you're seeing he considers every Republican that voted for Trump fascist. Now he's calling for violence against people that disagree with him politically. Do you see how this extremist rhetoric, how this extreme talk on the left is starting to manifest? And it's going to go somewhere really dangerous because usually they always talk about like right-wing violence and people will die when the right wing becomes radicalized. Well, when the left wing becomes radicalized, people die in the tens of millions. So it's something to really, really take a pause and realize that this is going down a very, very bad path. And like I said, if you're a Vaush listener, if you're a Vaush fan, do better. You are capable of doing better. But yeah, his intellect is not something that I've ever found all that impressive. He wasn't really able to stand up to the most basic questioning and the most basic scrutiny. Like me and Piscos were having, like, just intellectually kind of kicking him around. It wasn't all that hard. And then Destiny shows up, and it was just like, oh fuck, what the hell is going? Like, and I barely knew who the fuck any of these people were at this point. I'd seen a few videos of each of them, but I didn't know there was animosity between these two. But yeah, Destiny came to kick Vaush while he was down. And, now, well deserved. This guy's just a fucking ass bag. I mean, he's just advocating for violence against anybody that disagrees with it. Like, how much of a fucking child are you? Like, I'm sorry, Vaush. Like, you are a fucking child for the things that you said. You're unironically evil, and you really lack any measurable social maturity or emotional maturity if that's the kind of thing that you advocate for just because people disagree with you politically. Like a patriot prayer guy. Patriot prayer, like, I don't know why they get the hardest shit from the left. Like, we've even had an Antifa guy shoot a patriot prayer guy down for, as far as we can tell, no fucking reason other than the fact that he was a patriot prayer guy. Is he trying to become relevant before midterms? Unfortunately, like, if you're on the left and you're wanting to make a big display to try and save the midterms or to save any election, this is a poor election to do it because the Dems are going to get walloped. Okay, it's not even going to be close. There's going to be goodness gracious, like it's one of those, like, I don't think that's the play. Moment. Typing something out now so I can, I'll give him a sub just so I can make sure that I got everything lined up for the next segment. But do I think that's his play for the midterms? No. This is not the election to make a big sacrifice like that because the Republicans are going to win. I'm sorry. Roe v. Wade getting overturned, the Second Amendment being expanded, all of that is going to be nothing in the face of gas prices, rising gas, fuel, food, housing, fucking price of everything going up. I'm sorry, like the Democrats are going to get walloped this time around. And even Nancy Pelosi, their main fundraiser, she's got some personal problems now. Her husband was just arrested with a DUI. So yeah, that happened, folks. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Now, folks, we are going to get ready to move on to another topic here. This is one that I promised Cypher of Crowdsourced Politics I'd get into. We've been having a little back and forth on guns in some of the side chats in Discord, and it kind of spilled over onto YouTube now. And he made a couple arguments. He's like, that sounds awful reminiscent of the arguments we just had a few days before on Discord. But it's an interesting guy. So, folks, we are going to shift gears here a little bit. One moment, please. Goodness gracious, the dust in here is really thick tonight, so I keep getting the stuffy. Now, also, they say, yes, shall not infringe. Oh, we'll get to that. We will get to that. That helps keep the sinuses open a bit. So we're going to get into this video, folks. Now, we're going to shift gears here a little to something a little different, but I figured this should be addressed. Cypher, also aka Crowdsourced Politics, put out a video that I feel there's parts of it that are actually worth examining, and then there's parts that need a bit of pushback, and there's parts that are actually pretty good to this video. So I'm going to give there's two different oh, yes, thank you. I was trying to copy the Sherlock Holmes Calabash pipe, but those things are like fucking $160. Fuck that. But there's the substance and the form. The substance I want to address as the video goes, and the form of it I'm going to address afterwards. So, folks, without further ado, let's get right into this. This is from Crowdsourced Politics, Cypher on YouTube. Now, the video, again, bit of form thing, loose guns, lost children. It's hyperbole, but it's the wrong kind of persuasion. But we'll get into that at the end of the video. Cypher of Crowdsourced Politics on YouTube. Give the guy, check him out. He's definitely on the left, but actually a fairly nice guy. You know what I mean? Like he's a dude on the left, but he's not like one of those woke scolds. So he'll actually listen to you and try to have a discussion. And we've had some back and forth and some disagreements on panels on Tiberius. God, I think we've been on panels together on Dylan, on Prime, on Tiberius. Like we both kind of made the round. So without further ado, and I'm going to be pausing this often, folks, so that we can get into the back and forth.
And now we are going to talk about the mass shootings that we've experienced over the last several weeks. So, out of respect for the victims, we're going to have a moment of silence before we talk about this. Please join me in that moment of silence. All right. Thank you for joining me in that moment of silence. I greatly appreciate it.
You know, I'm just going to say right up front, I actually like that. I think more shows should do that. Like Cypher, that's a really good idea. And in the future, I may utilize that. That's just, I'm sorry, that's a good thing. And it drives home the point that this is real. Wes J. Ryan, does that moment of silence come with thoughts and prayers the left hates so much? That gets mentioned a little later. And I've noticed I don't like that attack at all. Like when you're trying to, when you meet genuine compassion with vitriol, there's just something wrong with what's going on. Like with your general outlook, if you meet that kind of compassion with vitriol.
So we're going to talk about it. Okay. And you know what this is about. So I don't even have to say a trigger warning. If you need to get out of this, get out of it now, because we're about to get into some serious shit, especially with some of the things that people have lied about with the most recent one. Okay. All right, let's get into it. Another mass shooting happened this week, this time in Texas. Gun violence, gun control, the Second Amendment. Quote, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. That's the refrain that pretty much sums up the talking points of most of the right in the United States.
Now, that's an interesting one. Hang on. I will go another second.
And
I'm sorry. When his pause like that, like, yeah, I'll get it going another second. The thing you got to realize, though, is even in this instance in Texas, the only thing that stopped this shooter was another armed individual. There was a lot of cowards there. There sure shit was. But in the end, the adage still held true. It's unfortunate reality that self-defense requires a proportionate amount of return force, because when somebody initiates force against you, you have to repel that in some way. Let's see. West J. Ryan, very simplistic, dumb analysis, yet still true. It's sometimes the simplest analysis can lead to truth. Left hates simplistic answers that are true, according to West J. Ryan. I've noticed that a lot. If it's a simplistic answer, but it's true, you're going to get some pushback, I've noticed. But we continue.
Of course, the evergreen thoughts and prayers.
There it is.
There's always a lot of thoughts and prayers for the people left behind after the mass shootings that have become so regular in this country that they barely make a blip on our radar anymore. The left bemoans every shooting and every death. Democratic lawmakers don't get money from gun lobbies, so they're quick with the accusations against their colleagues after every shooting. Lots of words, but no meaningful action. This week, an 18-year-old whose name we will not be reporting on the roundup, and nobody else should either.
Hear, hear.
Just like we stopped reporting the names of suspected serial killers.
And have you noticed you don't really hear about them much anymore? In the 90s, some of our best movies, The Silence of the Lambs, was all based on like crazy serial killers and shit, and made you believe that there was a serial killer under every pillow and under every bed. And now, not really so much anymore. The mass shooter thing kind of became the new serial killer, like he's talking about. And now that we're finally coming around to don't report the fuckhead's name, don't report them, like I think that's a positive development. Like, and that's one instance where just like, no, we don't need to glorify, because that's what they're seeking, is some sort of rejection of the world and everyone around them, but also making the most noise on the way out. But Cypher continues.
Entered an elementary school classroom in Uvalde, Texas, before he was shot and killed by Border Patrol agents. Yes, Border Patrol, ICE. Murdered 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers. What he did... Oh, I'm sorry. The shooter had no criminal record and no history of mental illness. What he did have was weapons. He had 2 AR-style rifles that he bought at a local federal firearms license on May 17th and May 20th. According to the Texas Department of Public...
West J. Ryan, the framing is awful. We all know about them. Hardly blips. That's a very valid retort there. It's like, these are hardly blips. I mean, these are something we all know. Like, I mean, we can name off the big cities where this has all happened now. And some of the smaller like communities that you'd never hear about, they become infamous for all time after these things.
Like safety, he also purchased 375 rounds of ammunition on May 18th. In Texas, an individual between the ages of 18 and 21 can buy a long gun or rifle, such as an AR-15. Carrying a gun in Texas required a permit until September of 2021, when a state law freed Texans from the permit requirement, known as constitutional carry. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill.
I'll be honest, I don't think the constitutional carry thing would have really made a difference here. But to me, I think constitutional carry is something that I fully support. I have a feeling that Cypher here would not, but I think constitutional carry is sort of a constitutional and legal banality as far as I'm concerned. It's just something that just simply should be. It's not something that even should be a controversy, honestly. So I have a feeling that the two of us are going to look at that very differently. And well, we'll see how this continues. But yeah, constitutional carry, I don't think would have made a large difference one way or another, or any difference, honestly. He went through normal channels still in place with constitutional carry. Yeah, he went through all the, like, this is one of those where there just simply is evil in the world. And then that's one of the things that's the biggest difference between the left and the right that I've noticed is On the left, you have the belief that there is the perfectibility of human institutions. If we just get one more law, one more regulation, then we'll have the utopia. On the right, there's a general concession of the imperfectibility and imperfection, fallen nature of humanity. We're all imperfect creatures. And so because of that, you really can't have any one institution with too much power.
Last summer, championed by gun rights advocates that allowed for permitless carry. The law was criticized at the time by Democrats, with Representative Veronica Escobar of El Paso predicting at the time that it would cause more violence and loss. Abbott said on Wednesday, after Uvalde shooting, that, quote, the ability of an 18-year-old to buy a long gun has been in place in the state for more than 60 years. Say that again. The ability to buy a long gun in the state of Texas has existed for more than 60 years.
Yeah, in a lot of states too. Heather, that's the part about it. That's the sad part about it. He didn't go to the black market. He went to the store. Well, again, that's one of those things where, yeah, he just had this evil intent in his heart. And that's one of those things where you have to be ready for that because, I mean, Heather, every day you go out with your kids, you're thinking, okay, what evil little fuck is around the corner? You kind of have to approach life like that if you want to keep you and yours safe. Yeah, that's the unfortunate reality of it.
Of course, it's saying that it's not the law's fault, right?
Oh, yeah, and I remember what I was going to say about, well, yeah, a lot of states you've been able to purchase a gun from 18 on, long guns. Usually it was the 1960s when handgun regulations started to become really in vogue in the United States. I think it's the Brady campaign used to be the Coalition for Handgun Control or something like that in the 70s. And then it shifted. And that was the real big push post JFK RFK was to get some handgun control. And but yeah, you've been able to buy a long gun in most states since time immemorial. As long as there's been people with guns to sell, there's been guns for sale. Now, under the federal firearms law is what Abbott is talking. Excuse me. Under current federal firearms regulations is what Abbott is talking about. Wes J. Ryan, a Cypher is CNN journalist. This whole thing is framed in a way that sounds like he doesn't know very much about guns or law. Strangely enough, Cypher, I believe, is actually a military vet. I don't know what branch or what, but and he lives in Texas, but he really doesn't like some of the gun laws there. And we actually talked about gun buying, and he's considering getting a rifle. He's not sure about an AR, and so I was trying to trying to ease in the idea of him getting a scout rifle, bolt action in either 308 or 5.56. In Texas, 5.56 is probably plenty. And it doesn't have that it's a spooky AR, but it also has really common ammo, and it takes a lot less maintenance than an AR. So I was trying to sell him on that, but I'm actually going to get into that when I get into the forum criticism at the end of this video. So Cypher continues.
Doesn't have anything to do with the laws of guns in this country. But Abbott pushed aside any calls to strengthen gun laws, saying, quote, we as a government need to find a way to target that mental health challenge and do something about it. Shortly after the news of the shooting began circulating, Senator Ted Cruz released a statement that said in part, Heidi and I are uplifting our prayers to the entire Uvalde community during this devastating time, and we mourn the lives that were taken by this act of evil.
Now, when Ted Cruz said that, you know that we are lifting you in prayer. That's kind of a response to just the vitriol that thoughts and prayers gets now, which, like I said, I don't think that's good. I really don't think that's good. Now, Cypher is about to read some stuff here that's less than good. Let's call it that. He basically just finds the most vitriolic, lurid tweets that he can and reads them here. And I don't know.
It is an act of evil, but something has to be done about it. Now, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said, quote, "We can't stop bad people from doing bad things. We can potentially arm and prepare and train teachers and other administrators to respond quickly. That, in my opinion, Ken Paxton's opinion, is the best answer." Because of course it is. Because again, only a good guy a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun. You saw how well that worked out. Now, Democratic.
Well, in the end, as much as I hate to say, that's what happened in the end. Yeah, a lot of cowards stood outside. A lot of fucking folks who have no right to ever put a cowboy hat on ever again stood outside. But no, in the end, that's how it boiled down again. A good guy with a gun stopped the bad guy with a gun. Scared for our friends in Canada, no handguns anymore. I know. To our Canadian brothers and sisters, I extend my deepest condolences to each and every one of you. I'm so sorry that you have to go through this and you have to suffer through Trudeau. And I know none of you can even say that you oppose this, because if you do, your checking account will probably get shut down. So I'm so sorry. I extend my deepest condolences to our Canadian brothers and sisters. West J. Ryan was asked how many kids should die before second A. My answer is, if second A is changed, we potentially won't have kids to save. Well, my response to that is, and it's something to keep in mind kind of through the rest of this video, actually. Dr. Ron Paul made a very, very compelling argument years ago, and I'm going to repeat it partially here. We could eliminate all domestic violence in the country, and in the country if we wanted to, by simply installing a camera in every single room of every single house. Then guess what? Domestic violence rates would drop precipitously, considerably, almost to zero. But we all recognize that a far greater crime has been committed against the American people as a whole at that point. And just like me not wanting to have cameras in everyone's rooms, in everyone's house, doesn't make me pro domestic violence. In the same regard, me not wanting all guns confiscated and wanting people's rights stripped from them doesn't make me pro shooting in any way either. And so that's something that you always need to keep in mind, is the people that are always wanting to take your rights the most, the people that try to get you to praise them the most for doing it. So in that regard, that's something to always keep in mind with this. And so Cypher continues.
Representative Ruben Galeo of Arizona attacked Cruz on Twitter. Quote, "Fuck you, Ted Cruz. You care about a fetus, but you will not let our children get slaughtered." Galeo posted on Twitter, "Just get your ass to Cancun. You're useless. Just to be clear, fuck you, Ted Cruz, you fucking baby killer."
Wow.
Guerrero said in a second post. Candidate for governor's seat, Beto O'Rourke.
That was actually quite well timed, because yes, these people are assuming because they don't want mass confiscation, because they don't agree with them, they apparently want death. And that is a really unfortunate reality, is when one side assumes that they have a monopoly on morality or empathy in any issue. That's where some really bad shit goes down, because like Stalin did things for your own good. The fucking worst dictators in our history did things for your own good. Hitler did things for your own good. That's what the worst dictators do. They do it for your own good. And so that's, I forget what the quote is, but it's like, there's no tyranny more pernicious than one that they do so believing that it's for your own good, because a regular tyranny will rest and leave you alone, but one that's for your own good never fucking rests and is always trying to beat down upon you and never sleeps. And so that's what you always got to be worried about. It's like, and like even lefties say, we need to bring in gun control. It's for your own good. I forget who said it, but yeah, if the government says they want to take your guns, you definitely need your guns.
Crashed a press conference that features Texas Republicans approaching the stage and accusing Abbott and others of doing nothing to prevent this kind of violence. And they haven't. He was shouted down fairly quickly and escorted out by law enforcement
good.
within minutes.
That was a
O'Rourke
dumb
said
little
gun
stunt.
violence prevention could be accomplished. Quote, if we had a governor who cared more about the people of Texas than he does his own political career or his fealty to the NRA.
I don't know about like he's trying to advance his political career at this point. I think Greg Abbott's well aware of the fact that his political career likely ends in Texas. I don't think he's got further aspirations beyond the state. If he was maybe 15 years younger, he'd be a presidential candidate, but no. And I'm not saying like somebody his age couldn't be president. I'm just saying for him in particular, his window for when he would have made a good presidential candidate's kind of come and gone. But I think Abbott at this point, he's doing what he believes is in his principles correct. So I don't know. Trying to ascribe that kind of level of now, maybe I'm wrong. Cypher, you live in Texas. If you do a response to this, I'd love to know. Is Greg Abbott like planning to run for president, or is he going to try to run for Senate? Looks like the Senate seats are kind of packed and a little safe at the moment, but he would be a great, if somebody's got a controversy come up, he'd be a great last minute, second string candidate.
Work continued. And if you need any proof of that, check the schedule for the NRA's convention this Friday, right here in the state of Texas. 5 of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history in this state on his watch. What does he do about it? He goes to the NRA convention to brag about how easy he made it to purchase guns in this state, to carry them publicly without a background check whatsoever. Words, not action.
I don't think he ended up going actually because there was too much of a security threat. And Greg Abbott is, I believe he's actually he's in a wheelchair. And so he's not going to be able to quickly and safely and efficiently extract himself in that kind of situation the way other people can. Hey, Bandit, Stacey Abrams has a chance in Texas. I thought she's from Georgia.
Second Amendment contains one word that seems to fall on deaf ears for the people who have championed unfettered access to guns. That word is regulated. The lack of federal regulation.
Okay. I don't know. Cypher. This is something that a lot of people on the left get wrong when they bring up, well, it says regulated right there in the Second Amendment. I know this is going to be hard to believe, but nomenclature has changed over 200 years. This is Cypher of Crowdsourced Politics. He's a guy, he's on Mask Off podcast with Tiberius. I occasionally run into him on Prime and Dylan Burns' show. That's where I first met him, actually. But regulated. Okay. It wasn't until shortly after the Civil War that the term regulated came to be known as being subject to government fiat. That is a fairly new usage of the word regulated. There's the more classic usage was like a regulator valve. At the time of our ratification of the Second Amendment, if you were somebody that had the exact same meal for breakfast, the exact same meal for lunch, the exact same meal for dinner every day, 3 different meals, and you had all your nutrition covered and you knew exactly what your intake was, you would be said to have a well-regulated diet. And that was what well-regulated meant at the time. Think of more like a regulator valve that like controls the flow of gas or liquid. So that's more what that nomenclature meant. So when you say a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So what it says there, but you wouldn't be regular. Maybe. So basically what that's saying is we need people that are well equipped with their arms to be necessary for the security of a free state, or a state of freedom, if you will. So the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And they had to put that in there in fairly strong language because they knew some asshat was going to come along and eventually try. So when you say regulated, don't hang your hat on that one, because linguistically, historically, and legally, it does not hold up at all. So just now, granted, you don't go too deep into that, but just for future reference.
Regulations means that people can buy guns legally in a state with few regulations and carry them across state borders into a state with more regulations. This is seen often in New York and Chicago. The lack.
Now, I've often asked the question, why is it that these guns that everybody bemoans that get to Chicago, they don't seem to commit any or hardly any crime at all until they get to Chicago? Why is it that it's only there that these guns are used for so much violence? And it seems like there's a perverse market demand. There's a supply demand chain here of perverse proportions that seems to be getting served in some way. And I've said this before, and like, just, when I used to go to Chicago for business reasons years ago, and I had this discussion. It's like, it seems it's your fellow Chicagoans that want each other dead. It's really convenient to just blame the other guy over the hill, but why is it that your fellow Chicagoans want each other dead so badly? That's what I find very confusing in all this.
Of federal red flag laws and the lack of federal background checks, the utter lack of federal regulations that would curtail immediate access to firearms. Every time there's a mass shooting, there's lots of accusations and recriminations, but nothing changes. The stories hit the airwaves, the anger rises with the rhetoric, and then the stories fade away.
Lefties can pay for my training if it bothers them that much.
Out of memory.
Interesting
what can
idea.
We do? The National Rifle Association has their 2022 national conference this week in Texas. Former President Trump will be there to speak. So will Abbott and Cruz and many Republican lawmakers. Houston's mayor said the conference has been on the books for 2 years, and it's a contractual obligation. The conference will proceed.
Oh, yeah.
Because the NRA doesn't back down.
Nope.
There will no doubt be protests outside the venue.
As somebody that Arizona, good shit. As somebody that is a big supporter of the NRA, they don't back down, and I do like the fact that that's their reputation. Now they're going through some hard times at the moment, but they'll get through it. They've been around for a long, long time, and they've got donors whose pockets are real deep. I want Twitch poll Bandit 848 says, I want Twitch poll lefties to tell me how many guns do they think are too many for anyone to own. My bet is that it will be laughably low. Yeah, it's kind of like the American Dad thing where Stan gets taken hostage by lefty terrorists, and he's got to read these demands. Like, the demands are simple. There's a 1 year waiting period on getting a gun, and at the end of that year, you don't get a gun. But yeah, as somebody that does support the NRA, wash me in your judgment. I don't care. Like, I'm somebody that's, I'm glad that they're lobbying on my behalf so that I don't have to constantly. They're protecting Second Amendment rights, and God bless them for it, for everybody, even people who politically fucking hate them. They still protect their rights. So, an enumerated civil right. So, credit where it's due.
In fact, Bette Midler is encouraging her followers to come armed to an organization to protest the conference on May 26th. And in a big thing of irony here, the NRA doesn't allow guns at its conference. Even if former President Trump was not speaking at the conference, guns would not be allowed by the group that pushes for guns to be allowed everywhere else.
And you kind of just explained
Why? Because they know it's a fucking security risk.
Because some lefty will come and try and make a
The
scene.
actress made remarks while responding to a tweet suggesting, quote, people should show up and protest at this conference. Millers tweeted Wednesday at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas this weekend, come armed. Even without Ms. Medler's encouragement, Texas gun laws practically guarantee there will be as many firearms as among the protesters. You know where they won't be any firearms? Inside the venue. Because President Trump is going to be there. Secret Service, fine, understandable. But the NRA has always, or maybe not always, but for a long time, prevented guns from being at its conference. Which is why the only time you see a gun, when a speaker is speaking and holding it up for the cameras. So what can be done about
They also have a lot of guns at the NRA expos where they show the latest models that are coming out for each company. So tis what it is. Bandit goes, I don't have the same opinion of the NRA. I saw them firsthand in the VA State House. It was pitiful. And, you know, I'll be honest. Yes, we can all point to times when the NRA was too soft. If you're an American gun owner, it's like, oh fuck, really, you're conceding. But at the same time, they're also the only reason we don't have all the stuff that this guy wants implemented tomorrow in place. They're the reason we don't have, like, yet anyways, federal red flag laws. There's some scratchings that might happen, which I don't like that at all. Now it's a bipartisan committee, which is a very nice way of saying it's never going to happen. I mean, you got to realize whenever a president or a party in power says we're going to do a bipartisan committee, it's a nice way of saying nothing's going to happen. We'll see, but yeah, like universal background checks and registries, so the government knows where all the guns are, and then all they have to do is just reclassify a gun, and then they just one by one start slimming down the list of things that you can legally have, just like they do in California. So to me, it's, yeah, for all the NRA's faults, it's one of those, if you do the weights, I still consider them something that needs to be maintained. Bandit, true, getting rid of LaPierre would do a lot of help. That one is an internal NRA issue, because LaPierre, god damn it, that dude's had a thankless job for fucking 2.5 decades. Hey, go out there and defend our organization when everybody's right at the worst moments, right after these shootings. Go out, and LaPierre goes out there and he does. And so it's a pretty thankless job, but I do think the time may come, because he's getting old, if for no other reason, that I'm wondering who would be the new head of it, though, because whether you love him or hate it, LaPierre moves the legislation, he gets the donation dollars, he's got the connections, he knows the people, and so that's why he's where he's at. And so it's one of those, like, literally he's in that position of you either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain, and he's lived a long time. So Cypher continues
about this. I don't know. I honestly don't know what can be done. I know some things that can work on this issue that have long-standing majority of support among the American people. Universal background checks. That means if you buy it from your fucking brother, you get a background check.
Boo. It's none of your fucking business if two brothers sell a gun between each other. I'm sorry, but it just ain't. It's none of your fucking business. It's like Fred Thompson said when he ran for president in 2012. It's nobody's business but my own. If I own guns, how many, what kind, or even where they are. And it's true. It's not like, Cypher, I'm sorry. If just down the street here, just down the gravel road, actually, Billy and Bobby, they're brothers. One wants to sell a gun or even just trade them. That's between them. Ain't nobody else's business. And it's private property that's privately held. So to me, Sound more like Billy and Bobby. Yeah, they're just trading, like, because that happens a lot actually around here. Is people will trade guns. It's like, yeah, I'll trade you this 1911 for that Glock. Now depending on the Glock and the 1911, but like you hear that a lot around here. Is people just trade guns. Nobody's going to the fucking courthouse for that shit. Okay, they're just not. And even if you say like you implement that law tomorrow, that really only applies to any gun manufactured after the date of law's implementation on the date X. There's still the almost 400 million guns that can just be traded freely around. And like, actually behind me in the shot there, right there, actually, is a Schmidt-Rubin 1911 rifle that was manufactured in the year 1918. So it's a 104-year-old rifle, and it still shoots like a fucking pencil. Just straight line, big old 30 caliber pill, 7.5 by 5.5 Swiss. Guns are incredibly durable and long-lasting items. So even if you make the punishments as draconian as possible, immediate execution for ownership of a firearm, make it that draconian, it's still going to take you 150 years to purge firearms from American life, because people buy them for a reason. It's not just vanity. They do serve utility. It's a very, very good defensive tool, and it's a great critter getter, especially when you're out in places like Nebraska here. We got some critters out here, and you need something to be a getter.
Why? People can't be trusted. Simple as that.
Interesting. Well, that's very jaded.
People can say, well, we have background.
Like, people can't be trusted. Like, well, then apparently, like, do you like the cameras? Like, I'm not being facetious. I'm not being an asshole here. Like, do you like the cameras in every room to get rid of domestic violence here because people can't be trusted? Is everybody to wear like fucking bubble wrap suits because people can't be trusted? Are we going to start to fucking not sell butter knives because people can't be trusted? How far are you willing to go with this?
Background checks, and if you sell your gun to a person that's not allowed to have them, then you're breaking the law. No, that's not how it works. The way it works, legally speaking, is all you have to do is say, well, judge, I didn't know this person wasn't allowed to have a gun. I did my due diligence. I checked their ID. They were said who they say they were. I have no obligation to run a background check on this person.
Bandit goes, why? Government showed it was incompetent and ineffective. Why should they be given more power? Very compelling argument.
So I used my best judgment and sold him the weapon. If that weapon is then used in the commission of crime, no one is held at fault. No one else but the killer is held at fault, despite the fact that due diligence was not actually practiced.
If I sell someone my sword and they go hack somebody up, I'm not liable because they used a sword. If I sell somebody a hammer and they go all Hell's Angels on somebody, I'm not liable because they bought my hammer. Like, the only reason why that argument would make sense to anyone is because guns scary. So I'm sorry, like, that's just bad argument.
Have laws that prevent certain individuals from obtaining firearms and weapons for a reason. Even Republicans know that mentally ill people that are troubled, people that beat their wives and girlfriends and that were former criminals shouldn't be allowed to have a gun. But by God, if you try to make me wait 2 days to have a weapon when I'm a law-abiding citizen, and fuck you, buddy, you're preventing me from carrying out my constitutional right.
Right delayed is a right denied. And also, it's kind of a very odd form of collective punishment where, because other people might be bad, I need to be treated as a bad person. Like, yeah, that's a very odd, like, $5 says he's never held a firearm. I don't know. I think he's like, we've been talking about him buying a gun. He's not sure about buying an AR, so I'm trying to sell him on a scout rifle, because a scout rifle is just a fun bolt action rifle that if you're a right-hander and you get the Mossberg, it takes AR magazines anyways for 5.56. It's just a fucking fun rifle. I'm a lefty, so I got the Ruger gun sight scout 5.56. That's kind of my critter getter, and it's nice gun. Almost no maintenance. You don't need like that thing you can just beat up and it takes a lick and keeps on ticking. Give him a 2-day waiting period on posting a video. You know, I like, yeah, like, is that what we're gonna do with freedom of speech? Is you need a 2-day cooldown period before you can post a video. I like that one, Bandit. Bandit, I am stealing that one. That is brilliant. I'm sorry, I am stealing that one. That is fucking gold. All right, and he continues.
That is the narrative that they have. That is what they always say. Every single time.
What did he say?
That is the narrative. Former criminals shouldn't be allowed to have a gun. But by God, if you try to make me wait 2 days to have a weapon when I'm a law-abiding citizen, then fuck you, buddy. You're preventing me from carrying out my constitutional right. That is the narrative that they have. That is what they always say.
Well, there is a validity to it. I mean, you might disagree, but there is a validity to it.
Make no mistake about it. Republican lawmakers, some Democrat lawmakers are beholden to their constituents. And there's constituents, the loudest ones that are pro-gun, not necessarily the NRA.
Absolutely.
It's gun owners of America.
Hear, hear.
You haven't heard about that until this program right now? I suggest you look it up.
Yes,
30,000 member organization, the most vocal and rabid pro-Second Amendment group in the United States.
I got to pause there because, yes, he's absolutely correct. Do check out the Gun Owners of America, another great organization. There was a few times when the NRA was going to get a little wobbly, and the Gun Owners of America reminded them of their principles. Let's call it that. Reminded them of their principles. But yeah, I think that is like, so great shout out, Bandit. Hot take. I think that have paid their debt to society should have all rights restored. If they can't be trusted with those rights, should they be back on the streets? Excellent point. I really do think once you have served your time and term, the state should have no further business with you. And I think all civil rights should be fully restored. And if you can't be trusted, then you should probably be locked up. If you're a danger to yourself and others, like that seems self-evident. So I really like that idea, because let's be frank, some like paperwork, white collar, like insider trading, or like somebody had a little bit too much weed on them or some shit like that. That's not something that has anything to do with violence. Okay. The domestic violence thing, I think that's just dandy right where it is. I think right where those laws are, I think that's just, I got no problem there.
They're the ones that pushed for these conferences to continue back in the 90s after Columbine. That's how long this has been going on. There hasn't, the majority of my life, we've been dealing with school shootings because we do not want.
Yeah, I don't know how old you are, Cypher. You're probably a few years younger than me, but I was in, God, I want to say like 5th or 6th grade, somewhere around there when Columbine hit. That was a big, like, I remember everything kind of shifted after that, because like our country's been awash in firearms and ammunition, readily available firearms and ammunition, but these mass shootings have become a fairly recent phenomenon, which, like, I remember, I can't even remember who said it, but the fact that this has been the way it is doesn't really point to some sort of gun problem, but points to some form or figure of societal decay. Because yes, I mean, since our nation's founding, we've been awash in readily available firearms and ammunition, and we've had repeating firearms for hundreds of years now. Jefferson's favorite rifle, I think it was called the Giordano rifle. It was a 22 shot repeating 41 caliber ball rifle that he actually loaned to Lewis and Clark. And they said the only reason they survived is because they had these repeating high capacity rifles. Look at the calendar. Columbine happened during the 94. Yeah, okay. I was a little older than like 6th grade then. I'm trying to think. Was I a teenager? I can't remember. But yeah, I'll have to go back and don't make me do math. Come on. But anywho, that was I do remember that was a big shift in the culture, like after Columbine. And like I said, like the idea that these are blips on the radar, like Chicken said earlier, just is not true. I mean, just the saying of that name, and we already know. So these are clearly not blips on the radar.
Want to do anything in this country, because that's what it boils down to. Politically, we don't have the fucking will to do anything. Hamstrung by politicians and lobby groups from doing even the most basic of things, like universal background checks, to stop the proliferation of guns to people that shouldn't have them, to people that the vast majority of the United States agree.
You know, you're not gonna like this. Well, I'm 36. So if that so there he goes. Like, what year to graduate? No, I don't want some credit card thief out in the ether fucking having me drop all that shit. Like, you and I are just shooting the shit back and forth, and there's some like credit card thief in like fucking Belarus or Beijing or some shit, like fucking typing that shit out. Like, fuck. So like, wait, why did I have a charge for like 8 iPads? What the fuck? Like, oh yeah, I'm 36. But oh damn it, I'm sorry, I forgot what you were talking about. Let me go back there just a few.
To stop the proliferation of guns to people that shouldn't have them, to people that the vast majority of the United States agrees.
Oh, the universal background check. Now I remember. You're not gonna like this, Cypher. You're gonna disagree with this entirely, but it's good to understand perspectives. It's good to understand what the other side's thinking. And this is one that I think will be helpful. Like, the right views universal background checks as just step 1 to registration, and registration is just prerequisite to confiscation. And we've even seen it in the United States, and states like California, where they would do universal registration for certain. I think they have universal registration now in their state, and they would simply reclassify guns. Like, I think even an SKS is now illegal to have in California, and it used to be totally fine, totally legal. And then they just redefined it as a now illegal weapon and turn them in. We already know where they are, so fuck off. And so universal background check is just the first step to that. And so to me, it's like, nope. There's many private citizens in this world that have much that they don't want you to know, and much that they feel that they should keep concealed. And that is their right. So to me, it's I can understand why. I mean, from somebody on the left, I can understand why they would want that kind of complete information. But somebody on the right is like, yeah, the fact that you want that information so bad is kind of actually suspect. Like, kind of makes us think, okay, there might be ulterior motive here.
Not be carrying a weapon. We can't even get red flag laws in the United States. Good. Because that's a violation of due process. No.
This is a little bit of a callback to our little side chat on Discord, isn't it? I kind of feel like it is, because he's saying this is, well, first of all, okay, sorry. I want to do this. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
be carrying a weapon. We can't even get red flag laws in the United States because that's a violation of due process. No, it's not.
Yeah, they are.
It is not a violation of due process.
Yes, it is.
You just don't like it.
Because it's a violation of due process. Yeah, red flag laws, depending on the judge you're in front of, a mere accusation is all they need to initiate that. So that is, because yeah, I got kinfolk that lives out in California. And yeah, the red flag laws are robust. Let's put it that way. So yeah, it's 8th grade by math. Thank you. All right. I thought it was like 6th grade, but that was off a little bit. So but yeah, when that one hit, it was fucking shattering. It changed a lot. But yes, the red flag laws, even if you think that it has enough due process, which it doesn't, it fucking doesn't. I mean, my God, it also violates the idea of innocent until proven guilty, because now, like, even when a grand jury convenes, indicts, and even has an arrest, you are still innocent until proven guilty. All civil rights have not been stripped. You may be arrested and processed, but then there is bond and bail hearing and all that such. So even then, you're innocent until proven guilty, and your innocence is still presumed. When a red flag law is initiated, you now have to prove, with the burden of proof being on you, that your thoughts are now up to state standards and regulations. That is a truly horrifying Orwellian, Kafka-esque reality that I hope no one ever has to find themselves falling under. Bandit goes, no knock, a bench warrant that you are oblivious to. Yeah, those need to go too. I think we can all kind of agree those are just a blatant violation of just about any kind of right you can imagine. So red flag laws, not only does it violate the very idea of due process, because it strips your rights before you've been found guilty of anything, or despite being found guilty of anything, it also violates our notion of innocent until proven guilty in such a way that I could scarce imagine a more damaging legislation to such a notion. And any one piece of legislation that can destroy so many rights and so many legal norms in one fell swoop should probably be given a little more consideration than red flag laws, guns bad, scary, because that's what it usually comes off as when people advocate for them.
The way a red flag works is that a person goes to a judge and be like, Your Honor, I have reason to believe that so-and-so is going to hurt themselves or somebody else, whatever the case may be. Here's the evidence I have. Can we temporarily take their weapon away from them? Basically a grand jury.
Basically a grand jury, huh? Basically a grand jury. Oh, wow. That assumes you are guilty until proven innocent. Dear Lord. Bandit, if they red flag you but haven't come by yet, you become a felon if you try to buy a firearm during the... Yeah, it's a lot of bullshit. And really what red flag laws are is, as far as I'm concerned, really what it is just another measure that folks who don't really like guns want to put in place to kind of punish gun owners for owning guns. That's what I like. When you boil it down, it's just like, well, you gun owners, we don't like you. So how can we punish you for owning guns? And that's kind of how it comes across, whether they know it or not. Exactly. Yes.
You can say that the process doesn't have enough due process. I'm okay with that.
So that's you kind of conceding that, yeah, it's not due process. You just don't really want to admit that, because that would be conceding an argument to the king of extreme. I know it can be painful, but don't worry, Cypher. I like you. You're a cool cat, and you make some good points here later that we get to. So don't worry about that. But this one, I'm sorry. Red flag laws are just a perversion of everything we consider justice.
I understand that argument, but to be against it in its entirety, to be against the idea itself, just means you put up your ability to have a gun and you put up your fear of having your gun taken away from you above the protection and life of other people.
Isn't that what you're supposed to do, though? Aren't you supposed to value the protection of your own life, of you and yours, over the protection of other people? That's kind of what you're supposed to do. And I think it would be kind of a bizarre system of thought for anybody that would put the protection of other people over the protection of themselves and their own. So, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do as a biological creature. Bandit, in my opinion, I'm not willing to consider the issue until the NFA and the Hughes Amendment are repealed. Hear, 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 hear. But that's a different issue entirely. Now, I'm curious, like, how far do you think that's going to get with like Cypher here? Out of like, assuming like he's Senator Cypher and I'm Senator K.O.E. and we're in the Senate. Yeah, that's going to be a bitch, ain't it?
Because you're paranoid that the government, big bad government, big brother, is going to come and confiscate your fucking gun.
Because they do kind of a lot. And oh, damn it, I'm sorry, but I did pause that at just the right moment. That's pretty funny. Like, this is a rather heavy-handed example, but at Wounded Knee, they at Wounded Knee, they confiscated everyone's guns before the massacre. Yeah. So when the government wants to take your gun, it's kind of the best way to know you kind of need to keep your gun. Cool, excited. I can't stand the smug condescension. Understandable. Like I said, when I get to the end of this, I'm going to critique the forum, but I'm critiquing the substance now. But yeah, like I said, it's stick around for that. But yeah, thanks for joining us, Cool Excite, and be sure to like, share, subscribe to right here, K.O.E Nation. Give us a subscribe. That'd be so fucking awesome. You would be the coolest cat of all time and the coolest Excite that ever excited. Bandit, tell him that the NFA gives a pathway to purchase machine guns. He'll come around to repealing it. Well, I'm going to bring up the NFA a little later. Because he's saying like, what about the 2-day waiting periods and stuff? It's like, well, I'll get into that later.
Despite all the evidence to the contrary, you are conspiratorial minded and paranoid, and you need to be called out about it. If you are one of those people watching this program, feel free to contact me later. We can have a debate about it. But that is my thoughts and opinions on this.
I was about to say, like, I was thinking it is a very heavy-handed example, but yeah, I mean, they confiscated the guns right before Wounded Knee. I mean, like, yeah, it's something that governments kind of like to do before they're going to do bad shit to you. Is confiscate the guns. So maybe don't hand them over. That's like been in since time in memoriam.
As of right now, this anger that you're hearing in my voice is genuine. I can't stomach this shit.
How you believe
I
this?
am trying to keep as calm as I can. But 14 people this past week died again. And the most people can say that we're going to do about it is make kids live in fear again. Get them security. The likely reason why the ICE or Border Patrol agents that ended up being the SWAT team that eventually took down the gunman could not get into that room is because of the security. It's likely, don't have 100% proof of this. Okay. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. Is likely because they already had reinforced doors. SWAT teams are trained to breach doorways. And if their miniature batter ram could not break that door down, then that is more than likely a reinforced door to prevent slaughter from happening. They had to be let.
Now, I can kind of confirm when I was in school, we had like fucking Hogwarts goddamn door. Like they were fucking thick. Like, so, I mean, I understand what they're talking about. Bandit, ironic that the English-speaking nations that had stricter lockdowns are also the nations that gave up their firearms. Yeah, brought that, like, I remember I was actually on Mask Off, and Tiberius and Osiris like were just like, well, that's an opinion. And I said, no, I'm convinced that the only reason we didn't have COVID internment camps like they had in Australia is because of how many people own guns here. I'm convinced. So that's just something to keep in mind. Shotgun would have handled that door. There's maybe now, like I said, Bandit, there's a lot of police in Texas that like were showing up that day wearing cowboy hats. They should probably just take them off from now on. They had a chance to cowboy up and they didn't take it. So, nah.
In by a staff member. How crazy is that?
That's kind of crazy.
We have kids going to school with bulletproof backpacks to try and use them as shields against guns that shouldn't ever be in the vicinity of a fucking school.
Hang on one second. Hey, Girly Bear, how you been? It's been a ride. I'll just put it like that. It's planting season, so I'm going a little late this evening because, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. But yeah, it's been quite a ride. I'll just put it like that. I think Vaush is pretty disgusting. Yeah, I did. Don't like him. Hey, Kate or Kat. How we doing there, all y'all? Yeah, I touched on that at the beginning of the show where he's just a pretty cringe, and I pretty out and out just saying he's doing stochastic terrorism at this point. Let's see. Bandit goes, you hear the story about the other CBP officer that was getting his hair cut, didn't have a service weapon, and the barber gave him his shotgun and saved the kids. Yeah. So it took another armed individual to show up to interfere with this. So even though there was a lot of cowards, it still took one good guy with a gun. A lot of cowards that day, though. My goodness. They were waiting for backup. You were waiting for your fucking pension to kick in.
And we can't get background checks on everybody. We can't require training. We can't require people to take insurance to at least in the instant.
Oh, yeah. That's all we need to make sure that rights are fucking maintained. Get the insurance companies involved. You know damn well what you're trying to do there. You're trying to get the fucking insurance companies to do with gun rights in the home the same thing that fucking the TOS has done to conservative thought in the public square. Just one by one, just knock them off one at a time. That's what you really want to do with that. Don't fucking lie. And there even was there was an attempt at an insurance policy, the NRA Carry Guard, and the Southern District of New York had a fucking conniption fit, and the NRA has been having some trouble ever since. But don't worry, the NRA's got a much longer game. The lady who's running the Southern District of New York, she's going to be getting into her political aspirations soon. She'll even run on, I was able to beat back the NRA. But the NRA, like, you just can't stop them. They keep coming. Their donors got too deep of pockets.
Of a national tragedy. Should it happen, the families wouldn't have to cover their own medical and funeral expenses. This should not be acceptable to anybody, but it is.
Yeah, they tried to make the Carry Guard work with the NRA, but yeah, like I said, that got too complicated too quick, and then it got political. Bandit murder insurance is what they called it by the gun grabbers. Yeah, so there was an attempt at it, Cypher, but the left rejected it wholesale. So that the whole idea of getting the insurance companies involved is just gone now.
And that is infuriating. I don't know what else there is to say about this. There are certain things that we could do as a country that would help the situation at least a little bit. One of those things, maybe raising the age to buy a fucking gun. Can we entertain that? Or shall not be infringed, stop us from doing that?
seems like as good a reason as any. I mean, it's right there. And let's be honest, like, I'm sorry, we have the oldest children in the world in this country. Okay. Like, are you an adult when you're 18 or are you not? Like, I didn't even really support the cigarette thing going up. And back in the 70s and 80s, I think is until Reagan, you could buy alcohol at 18 years old in some states. Cat goes, but at this point, I'm not even sure if Vaush himself knows what he thinks. I got into that earlier. He's kind of doing the Andrew Dice Clay. Gun control is dead. They just don't know it yet. Well, the cat's out of the barn at this point. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. Guy says all kinds of crazy shit and walks it back before you know it. Well, yeah, but at this point, it's a little too late. He's gone off the deep end and he's starting to believe his own bullshit.
I can't, man. I can't with this. It's so... Nothing.
I can't.
The likelihood of anything being done is very small. Another school shooting and nothing can happen. We got results in Parkland, a Republican state, because kids.
Oh, this one's going to change some shit. Like if you think no change is going to come from this one, you're going to see some big changes in the way that police precincts are run. Because after this, the police lost a lot of their rightward cover. Like a lot of folks on the right is like, motherfucker, we fucking stood up for you and fucking all this shit, thin blue line flags and all that shit. And then you just fucking stand there for an hour and then go get your kids and then tackle parents trying to get theirs. I mean, could you just imagine being a parent and there's gunfire going off in your school and the cops just stand there? You try to go in and they tackle you. Like, I'm sorry, if you make the right choose between parents and police, guess which one they're going to choose every time. So what extreme stuff have you been up to, Phil? Well, an extreme planting season, and some extreme family drama that I won't get into on the. Do you still have that Springfield rifle? I do. Excellent. 30-06. I can't complain with it at all. It was sporterized, but that was how I was able to get it for so cheap, and it shoots like a fucking pencil at 300 yards, no problem. Once you start getting into like 4, 5, and 6, you really gotta do your part. But 300 yards, just straight as a pencil. Can't complain with it at all. And he continues.
Children, people that weren't even old enough to vote, were able to make change happen. And even that change,
didn't they just increase
as
the
good
price?
Of a victory as it was, is trying to be chipped away at as we speak. And there was another school shooting.
Yes, thank God for some rain. Thank you. Not many problems a man can't fix with $700 and a 30-06. Nice. I like that rhyme. Oh, hell, I bought that rifle back in the Obama days, way back in the day, and it was a nice 30-06. Just guy had at a gun show, and it was just too purty, and I couldn't let it go. And it only cost me like a couple $400. Now it'd go for probably about $700-800. Great fucking gun though. I don't think I'll ever part with it just because it's that good.
And Republicans across the country have made it easier to have a gun because they are afraid of this happening without realizing that part of this happening is because of the laws that they passed. We can't even have a waiting period of 2 days of buying a gun. We have national background checks that in some states overrule the federal government and say that you have to sell that gun if they can't return a background check within 3 days. It's called a default sale.
Now, there's a reason they do that, and it's because there's a worse alternative. And what if you get a certain head of the firearms division of the FBI or the ATF that wants to slow walk every gun purchase? So it takes 6 rather than 2 days, 3 days, 6 days, 8 days, 40 days, 6 months, 10 months. Like, do you see how quickly that becomes a problem? And so this law incentivizes them to hurry up, get it back, and don't slow walk it like they do with any NFA item. If you try to buy a suppressor or a short-barreled rifle or any kind of NFA item, or even machine guns, which you can all get through the NFA, you will send in your check, and the check will clear almost immediately. And then it'll take another 6, 8, 10 months. And some people wait for years to hear back. Apply the suppressor wait list to the average. Yep. Bandit and I were like, yes. I mean, that's exactly what would happen if the states didn't have these kind of laws. Is it would take now Cypher, for somebody like you. I almost suspect you would for you, what you call a bug might be the main feature. So now you see why the NRA has studiously passed these laws in certain states to make sure that this kind of stuff doesn't hold sway.
How messed up is that? You can't tell me that's an infringement on a right.
Yeah, I can.
And if you tell me it's an infringement on a right, you can't tell me it's an overly burdensome one at that.
A right delayed is a right denied.
And be taken seriously. I'm not going to stand for it.
Well,
and there's more.
It is what it is.
There's more fuckery afoot with this. And part of that fuckery.
All right. I'm being asked. So who's the guy in the frame? Okay. This guy is Cypher. We've been having some back and forths in some Discord chats, and he put this video up, and we said, I might do a reaction to that. Is that all right? And he said, okay. And he might do a reaction to this, which then it's like, ooh, reaction to the reaction inception. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. Like I said, it's dusty in the middle of the night, but yeah, you can find him at Crowdsourced Politics on YouTube. He's considerably more lefty than I am. We run into each other on like Prime Kai's panel, on Dylan's panel some time ago, and on Tiberius D on the Mask Off podcast. These for sure some wacko hours to be streaming. Do farm people not typically get up at like 4:30? Well, it is planting season, yes, and I'm going to be up early in the morning, but I wanted to get some content out to you beautiful people, but I wasn't able to get in front of my computer until 11 o'clock my time because, like I said, family drama and such, which, you know, that everybody's got a fucking ridiculous story, so don't worry about mine.
Because it can't be the gun that does this. No, guns don't kill people. People kill people. True. Guns make it easier to kill people.
Bullets kill people.
The proliferation of guns just increases the likelihood of people dying.
Really fast.
These are facts. Facts don't care about your feelings. They don't care about your ideology.
Going Ben Shapiro on us.
They are. They exist without your acknowledgement of them or not.
Facts are stubborn.
And they want to scapegoat people with mental health issues. And they've not.
Yeah, I don't really hang my hat exclusively on the mental health thing. It's just don't spend your mind and your time staring too much into the mind of madness. Otherwise, you will go mad. Because, I mean, do we blame the author of The Catcher in the Rye for the death of John Lennon? I mean, like, at one point, you have to realize that there are evil people with evil intent that are intent on doing evil. And at that point, you come to a very different conclusion about the world. But yeah, like when you think that there's some sort of psychiatric fix to all of them, you look at the world differently. Then there's folks like me that's like, there's within each of us is the capacity to be an angel or a demon. Within every one of us. Within you, within me, within anyone is the capacity to be both an angel and a demon. And to recognize that nature in all humanity is a reason why one would buttress their personal fortress before they step out into the world.
They want to scapegoat people with mental health issues, right-wing extremists, evil pieces of shit. Yes, What I am talking about, the people that I'm talking about right now, that I'm about to talk about right now.
Okay, I'm glad he clarified that. The people he's about to talk about. He's actually going to clarify a conspiracy theory that's been kind of running around in right-leaning circles. And so for here a little bit, I'm going to give Cypher of Crowdsourced Politics the floor. I'm not going to interfere or interrupt much at all, unless, of course, we have some great comments from our listeners, or he starts talking about something else other than this one thing. That's the thing. Bandit says that's the thing Wall Street got wrong. Man stares into the abyss, and that is what keeps him out of the abyss. Oh, no. You stare into the abyss too long, and the abyss will stare back at you. So, yeah, if you try to stare into the mind of madness, it will just make you mad. But yeah, so for a little bit here, I'm going to give Cypher the floor here while he clarifies a conspiracy theory that's been going around, because it's one of the reasons I wait to give analysis, because I want to be not first, but right here at the K.O.E Nation. And so Cypher, I'm going to give him the floor for a few minutes here.
Or
about a minute or
evil.
two.
I know in this program that we say we do not want to increase the vitriol that happens in the country, but you have to call this out when it is what it is. And this is objectively evil. They are trying to blame this on a trans person. Why? Because, quote unquote, it's good optics to them. If you spent any time whatsoever on Twitter in right-wing spaces,
I'm just curious who they are.
100% have seen this story. This should not be anything new to you. But not everybody is able to go through the muck and deal with this shit as much as we are. And they don't know about this. Or if they do, they're just finding out about it either on this program or prior to me talking about this. And it has to be said, because this is objectively evil. It is abhorrent. The far right is falsely blaming a trans woman for the Texas school shooting. This report came out of Vice News, but we saw it on this program. We saw it on right-wing blogs, things that they come out of the 90s with a ton of ads, a ton of scams on them that people go to get their news from, get their lies from, to get their confirmation bias from. Posted all across Twitter. Images stolen from another trans woman's
I just
Twitter.
wanted to say real quick that yes, Bandit, like the trans thing was BS, and it's been called out by both sides. Yeah. Like when I saw the first pictures, like they look vaguely similar, but I've been told I look a lot like Jack Black. So I mean, like, that's not proof of anything.
Or Facebook, and posted as if this is the person that did the killing. Why? Why was it done? Because it helps their narrative. Propaganda abounds, and we are starting to live in fucking hell world. I am not a doomer. This is infuriating, and it makes me question my faith in humanity. So we're going to pull it up on the screen really quick for some of this stuff. So this is the article from Vice News. Vice News does some decent investigative journalism still. We're going to use them as an example here. Okay. So what we have here, Paul Gosar. If there's something evil being said, something abhorrent, something racist, something sexist, something transphobic, you bet your ass fucking Paul Gosar is going to talk about it. A transsexual leftist illegal alien made Salvato Ramos. It's apparently your kind of trash. Fuck you, you evil piece of shit. Because that is objectively evil. Stand back and stand by. Of course. Racist fucking statement. A Proud Boy fuckwit found a picture on Reddit that does not have anything to do with this person whatsoever. Let's go over to the tweets. So I'm just going to read these out. Right-wingers, including Dr. Paul Gosar, he should lose his fucking doctorate, have been spreading misinformation that the shooter in Texas was a trans woman, using random photos they pulled from Reddit. The person in the photos is currently posting on Reddit in an apparent horror that her photos are being used this way. Don't want to spread her image even further in connection with this bullshit. But if you see a photo of a person in red long sleeve Coca-Cola shirt and black miniskirt, that is falsely identified Reddit poster in the screenshots that they're talking about. How can anybody, I don't care if you're left wing or right wing, be supportive of this bullshit? You're putting an innocent person's life at danger. For what? To say that trans people are mentally ill? Are you fucking kidding me? You're mentally ill. No. That is, they're not mentally ill. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not driven by delusions that they can't help. They are 100% in control of their own mind right now. And to say that this is mental illness, what I just did was wrong. And I apologize for that. So
I just wanted to stop real quick because Bandit comes out with, it's irrelevant too. There's no pattern of trans people being spree shooters, which is very true. I mean, it's been kind of known for some time that generally transgendered people are, I mean, like, they might, like, in a debate be very, like, difficult to debate with, and they might be very quick on their feet and, like, have a fast tongue, but, like, generally in terms of, like, physical aggression, it's generally, like, I always thought passive was part of the general psychological profile. Like, they're not gonna, like, fucking fisticuff with you, like, and like that kind of shit. So you do raise an excellent point there. Girly Bear, for the younger mass shooters, in almost every case, they have said, quote, out loud, either online or in person, that they were planning to were going to do a mass shooting. It's kind of like a meme that's kind of being passed around the right now, where it says, known by the FBI, known by the FBI, known by the FBI, known by the FBI, was known by the, like, and so that's sort of the meme being passed around at the moment.
we got a question from the chat. Hold on, sorry, I'm having mess ups on my multi-screen here.
Not multi-screen mess ups.
From Bisky. So
Bisky whiskey.
Not add. Where's the oh, I don't have the highlights on. There we go. So Bisky __ is that 3? Yeah, 2 underscores. I have no idea who Paul Gosar is. Paul Gosar is a Republican congressman. Don't recall what state he's from, but made a meme Attack on Titan thing.
He's from Arizona,
where he was one of the characters of Attack on Titan killing Titans, and AOC was a Titan. That's the kind of person he is. Racist. Speaks at American First conferences with his buddy Nick Fuentes. Continuing on with these tweets, there's also a photo going around of a person with bangs drinking out of a green glass bottle. The person in the photo has since tweeted that the photo is of them and not of the shooter, who was killed. People reportedly, 4chaners, have apparently just been grabbing random photos of trans women they think look remotely like the photo of the shooter. They've apparently been able to find, or think they found, who knows, and using them to claim the shooter was trans. And I saw this in my Facebook group circles, because yes, I'm old. I still use Facebook. Shoot me. It's how I keep up with the news. It's how I am able to track down right-wing narratives without having to go to 4chan to see how it's entered the ether.
I'll be honest, I got a Facebook account just so I could FaceTime with my daughter. And then it's like one of those, like, I don't really want a lot of Facebook friends or anything. And then it's literally like the South Park episode. Now it's like, oh fuck, there's hundreds of fucking people on it. Like, yeah, it's like, it's the funniest fucking thing. Like, I didn't want one. It was just so I could FaceTime with my daughter. And now yeah, there's actually, I don't know who said it, but any sufficiently unmoderated space on the internet will eventually become right wing. Like, that says something about human nature, kind of does. Which also kind of shows that, you know, leftist narrative really requires a lot of curation. But yeah, so Facebook, you do kind of get more right wing, and it's just kind of like memes, because memes are a very quick and efficient way of communicating, and it's a form of creativity that's individualistic. So it's just perfect for the right, and it's one of the reasons why the left has proven themselves not be very good at it, because the art that they're really good at is more collaborative based, like music, theater, that kind of stuff. That requires collaboration more. Bandit, poor choice of words during a discussion about firearms. You know, it's kind of like, hey, let me shoot you a text. Like, yeah, sometimes you got to watch what you're saying.
Enter the ether that is the basic Republican zeitgeist, basic conservative zeitgeist, without having to delve deep, deep, deep into the muck for my own sanity. Now, Paul Gosar has since deleted his tweet, right? But is he making an apology? No, because it fucking helps his narrative. That's what we're seeing here. I don't know why anybody wants to give these people the benefit of the doubt. It is infuriating. It is evil. And people that want to give everybody. Let me make sure I say this correctly. There are some arguments that should not be entertained.
Oh God! Like, I just don't like that. Bandit goes, memes of the 21st century political cartoons. Very, very true. And what makes them fascinating is they're so efficient at quickly communicating a lot of information, especially to people who are that are in on the joke. Like, if you're in on the joke of a meme, holy shit, it can communicate paragraphs of information. So that's what I think memes are so fascinating. But when he says certain perspectives shouldn't be considered, I've always thought, I can't think of any society that's ever done better when they think this one perspective, this group of people must remain unheard. Like, I believe very strongly in the idea that sunlight is the best disinfectant. So if you've got some idea that you disagree with, it's always worthwhile to establish first principles. Come to think of it, how can I prove the earth is round? How can I prove the theory of evolution? Like, these are things that, yes, it's always valuable to be able to establish first principles. So to me, the idea that certain ideas shouldn't be heard, to me, that's also a confession that you're not as confident in your ideas as you'd like to think you are, and you need to run to the intellectual hall monitors. And to me, when you engage with people who think differently, you make yourself smarter. When you refuse to engage with people who think differently from you, you actually make yourself dumber by doing it. So to me, I vociferously disagree, good sir.
People that are outright lying and acting in bad faith are not actors that you should deal with kid gloves.
Like
they
Vaush
should not be able to air their grievances without pushback at the very least.
Well, if you're going to get pushback, that's no problem. But it's the classic idea of English liberty, where it's not just the right of the person who speaks to have a right to speak. It's also the right of the audience to listen and to hear and to be exposed. And every time you silence somebody, you make yourself a prisoner of your own action, and you made a rod for your own back, because if they can be fucking silenced, what stops you from being silenced?
And if they continue to go on, they should be rightly ridiculed and making an example of.
Oh,
feel free to debate some of these people.
If you got good humor, fucking
don't let their misinformation, their propaganda, their evil acts go unchallenged. Don't let them fester. Don't let them propagate. The best way to tackle these things is to, if you see it, to call it out. And if they continue to be a propagandist fuckwit, ban them from your community, because they're not there to be a good faith actor. They're not there to have their mind changed or to learn information. They're there as a political actor with an agenda, and that agenda is abhorrent. It is evil. It is going to lead to bad outcomes, and they must be stopped. This is partly why I am no longer a free speech absolutist. I don't think the government should be the one that comes in and tells us what we can and can't say. Private company, sure. Society in general, absolutely.
I'm gonna remember you
Shaming
said that when the right wingers take over the tech companies.
But being blasted for being wrong, abhorrent, evil, those things have better effect. And if you don't speak up, I'm not going to say that you're complicit. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that
there's
a
a
person
reason
doesn't
Jon
speak up is
Stewart was
complicit.
so effective.
I believe that they're cowardly. Don't be a coward. Call them out. Give them enough rope, so to speak,
So to speak.
Because this is on Twitch, I'm not going to say it. You know the idiom. And let them finish the job. And then pounce like a tiger and rip them to shreds. And if you can't do that, call someone else that can. Because by not pushing back on it, you help normalize it. Which is why we're covering this on this program, on the news roundup this week. And that is what I have to say about the latest shooting.
So, folks, that was crowdsourced politics on the latest shooting. So I'm going to be honest with you. There was a lot of analysis there. There we go. Second time's a charm. Or even third, where you can see where our disagreements are pretty fundamental. I mean, they're very, very fundamental. Now, I don't dislike the guy. Seems like a pretty cool cat, actually. And we've actually had some fun discussions, but this is one where we just fundamentally disagree. And it is one of those, I get a feeling we're going to, you shall not pass, because he's going to watch us eventually. But I don't know if he's going to go, you know, Phil, by Job, by golly, you're fucking right. I'm fucking down. I'm down with the clown till I'm dead in the ground. Yes, I'll have him reciting ICP lyrics. He's going to be so on my side. But no, I'm looking forward to his eventual, I hope he responds. But that was my general thought on the substance there. Bandit goes, in my experience, they're more likely to hide behind a block versus calling it out. There's that. There is that. They do kind of like hide behind their numbers. But now I'm going to get into the form, which to me can be as important. Now, Cypher, I could tell, was trying to hold back as hard as he could. He was trying to not let it go, which that was what I like as somebody just watching on the forum and like putting the substance in the forum in two different boxes. I wanted him to release more. I wanted him to get a little more fired up and actually get some by God passion into this discussion, because a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that passion is somehow an error. But no, I mean, turn on any Sunday morning preacher and they will tear the landscape up with their passion. Let me tell you what I did this weekend. The devil tried to get over me. The devil tried to get a hold of me. And I said, devil, you get out. Like, that's the kind of fire in your belly that you see the Sunday morning preachers. There was a few moments there where Cypher needed to really let loose a little more, and he needed to let his passions fly there, because that's one of the instances where the viewer would actually been more persuaded, honestly. And I'm not saying scream at the camera for 20 minutes, but I'm saying your passion was, you were trying too hard to hold it. Let the folks see that, okay? I mean, we're not like, everybody tries to be so fucking monk-like when they're talking about this shit. We're not machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. We're men and women. We have the love of humanity within us. So that's what I would really advise, is to really let that out more. Cypher, is you were far too reserved. Like I'm trying to do the same thing with Tiberius and Nate, which I will be bringing him up shortly, but I'm trying to, like, there's a firebrand preacher in there somewhere, and I know you can bring it out of you. And you just got to get that fire in your belly and let the people know that this is something that you care about. This is something that you got passionate about. This is something that you've got the gusto to back up. And so that's what I recommend to you, Cypher. If you make it this far, bravo. But I would just say, there was even a moment where it looked like you were even like wiping your tear and you were trying to like, and I was just thinking, damn it, let that out. That's real. That's fucking real. Why are you like pretending it's not? And so I like, we're not monks and we're not machines. We're human beings and we're allowed to have these kind of reactions. Okay. Like now there's two things also I'm gonna recommend. Now I know this is kind of our age group, but I can't even just drop that. It comes across as it's not relatable at the very least. It's one of those. It's like the audience is just gonna kind of cringe whenever somebody. I just can't even though it's something really serious. It's something very fucking serious. I get it, but it's just one of those things that I would just purge from one's nomenclature, and also for your own sanity. That's one of those like, oh, I'm just so exhausted by the world. Let me tell you, like that's just one of those like, oh, come on, Cypher. We've talked. You're better than that. Come now. Bandit, the Visine check didn't clear. No tears. God damn it. I love you, Bandit. But so that is my take there on Cypher and gun control in both substance and form. Once again, Crowdsource Politics on YouTube. Cypher's a neat guy that you can run into on the Mask Off podcast with Tiberius D. Definitely check that out on YouTube and Twitch now, and even TikTok. Yep, Tiberius is on TikTok, my God. And it's always funny to watch his TikToks like, hey guys, you want me to do a lot of math for you about generations and stuff? And TikTok's like, math? Ew. Like, so like it's kind of fun to watch. But yeah, the Mask Off podcast where you'll run into Cypher, Tiberius D, and of course Phil K.O.E on K.O.E Nation on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. Thanks. God bless on that. But now, folks, we're going to shift gears here a little bit. Now, this one's going to take me a minute to find because you're actually getting a K.O.E Nation debut. You folks who are on the stream with me right now, you're getting a very, very special K.O.E Nation debut of a different video. Let me find it here. It's one that's actually going to drop tomorrow, talking about Nate Dallin, but you are getting the preview this evening, folks. And it's Nate Dallin's a guy that I want to get on the show, but that's one of those good luck. Oh, dang it. Oh, let me check. But yeah, so Nate, I know what I must do now. There we go. Not technical difficulties, just I'm not very good with technical stuff. There we are. And there we are. And let's make sure. Hey, I fucking know my technological shittery and stuff. So this is on Roe v. Wade by Nathan C. Dallin. Now, his actual article title is Quick Thoughts on Roe v. Wade, but I just decided to go with On Roe v. Wade because it's just a bit more catchy of a title. Sorry, Nate. Sorry. But yeah, it is. Let's be honest. But this is... I like this video a lot, and I'll pause it for comments, and that's about it. Because I read the article that Nate wrote on Roe v. Wade, and then me and the guys on Dog and Chicken Show over at Big Buck and Empire give our breakdown of it, and Chicken does not agree with Nate at all. It's quite something, folks. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Glasses of extreme are coming on here. Yes, yes. Because this is an article written by the one, the only Nathan C. Dallin. Now, for those who don't know, he is an immigration attorney out of Omaha, Nebraska. As Jim Cornette would say, he's an attorney so good he could get sodomy charges dropped to just tailgating. Okay, he is one of the great legal big minds you listen to. He and I have had disagreements in the past, but I do enjoy his perspective. And this is a article he gave me permission to read live on stream to you beautiful people. This is Nathan C. Dallin. Quick thoughts on Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade. Oof. This is a complex one. Earlier this week, a draft majority decision was leaked to Politico on the case of Mississippi versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. The decision is authored by Justice Samuel Alito. It's a majority opinion, and the leaker indicated that 5 justices have joined the majority opinion, namely Justices Kavanaugh, Barrett, Gorsuch, Alito, and Thomas. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Breyer, and Kagan have all dissented. The Chief Justice, John Roberts, has not yet decided, according to the leaker. The draft majority opinion rests on one sentence. Quote, "We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled." Chief Justice Roberts confirmed the authenticity of the draft opinion. This is unprecedented and leads to a number of clear and unclear consequences. 1. Clear legal consequences. The federal constitution no longer conveys a right for an abortion to individuals. It is now up to the individual states to determine access to abortion. Trust between clerks, justices, and court staff at the Supreme Court must be at a 150-year low. I have no insider information, but the private deliberations surrounding decisions between justices and their teams is a critical pillar in the Supreme Court's decision-making process. That trust has been shattered. The legitimacy of the court has been called into question. Justice Sonia Sotomayor asked during oral arguments on the Mississippi, noted that Mississippi decided to pass a restrictive law because, quote, "we have new justices," end quote. That observation led her to ask, quote, "will this institution survive the stench that this creates in the public perception that the Constitution and its readings are just political acts? I don't see how it is possible," end quote. Number 2, unclear legal consequences. Will the overturning of Roe result in a wave of new cases asking the Supreme Court to overturn other long-held decisions? Does the majority opinion open the door to possible attacks on fundamental rights that are not mentioned anywhere in the Constitution? More particularly, are gender rights, sexual rights, and issues around the right to contract now open for reinterpretation? Think gay marriage, non-discrimination accommodation laws, protected class of gender, sexual orientation. Will the majority hold? Now the leak has happened. Will the 5 justices stick to their opinion, or will the outcry over the decision cause someone to change their vote? 3. Ethical and moral considerations. There are deeply held beliefs about life, dignity, autonomy, and choice in the U.S. The cultural arguments surrounding abortion have been deep and intense since before Roe. The different perspectives seem to be irreconcilable. The choice camp. A deeply held belief that the creation of life is an unequal experience. The consequences of sexual relationships don't equal divide between male and female. Women bear an unequal burden of the consequences of a sexual encounter. A male may have a brief sexual encounter and walk away without even knowing the consequences of his action. Women experience the same moment entirely differently and could carry with them the consequences of such an encounter for a lifetime. Pregnancy is no small thing for women and potentially a total non-issue for a man. The unfairness and burden of being pregnant, birthing a child with all of its risks, and raising a child fall on women. Should a woman have the right to deploy technology after a sexual encounter to control those consequences? The answer is, I'm just gonna couple of quick comments. Bandit, it has precedent. Plenty of major rulings have been overturned. There's been some pretty horrifying rulings. What was the one where like they were comparing slaves to luggage? That one needed to be overturned. Bandit, keep in mind that there is a Second Amendment case being heard by SCOTUS. This isn't a coincidence. Yeah, the day before the Roe case. Yeah. The day before the Roe case, the Second Amendment case. I mean, so it's going to be a very interesting week in jurisprudence when that one drops. I might be doing a live stream that one just over that day. For those in the choice camp is yes. A woman in consultation with health professionals should be able to make decisions without interference from the state. The choice camp cannot find an observable moment for when life can be declared to have begun. The overwhelming majority of fertilized eggs never make it past the first 2 weeks. There isn't an observable, workable, and measurable way to declare life begins at conception. the life camp. Life begins at conception and rights attached to the baby long before it develops limbs, eyes, a brain, or a heart. The focus is on the life that is activated at the moment of conception. Abortion ends life and is therefore murder. The unfairness experienced by women is outweighed by the newly created life. Particular care needs to be taken to protect the new life that is, as this baby is in no position to speak out and advocate for itself. The possibility of ending a life merely because it isn't fair to the mother is murderous. The moderate camp. Moderates try to weigh the position of the pro-choice and pro-life camps. Moderates see the unequal distributions of unwanted pregnancies, but also worry about when life begins. Moderates disfavor abortion except in limited instances of rape, incest, in the life of the mother. Moderates don't believe that abortion is murder, but do believe that the state can limit abortion after 21 weeks. Moderates recognize that the moment when life begins isn't knowable, but clearly at 7 months pregnancy, life has happened. For those who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I had a Twitter conversation about the theological consequences for abortions here. The link is given. 4, the political consequences. I don't know. All I know is this. Dems are mad, ours are glad. Those who voted for Trump to get justices to overturn Roe v. Wade have won. Will this matter in the 2022 midterms? I am doubtful. I do think blue states will get bluer and red states will get redder. I love you all. Please be kind to each other on this topic. The world needs more kindness when discussing hard things. Be charitable. Nate Dallin. So there you go, folks.
Well, with that last comment, I guess I'll tone down some of the shit I wanted to call out on there.
Wow.
There's a couple of things in there, like questioning whether like sexual identity rights or even gay marriage, like these are different cases. And I get the premises. Well, would they go and remove these because they don't like it, because they're, scary Republicans? No, that makes no sense to me. That and the basis, and if you actually read it was Alito, right, that released the goddamn, or that had the statement released. Whatever.
It was Alito's statement that was released. He didn't release.
If you go through it, it's like he's been looking at this for a long time, and he goes through every charitable argument that the left could have to keep Roe in place, and says why it's unjustified and why it needs to go. Everything that they have thought of, he's already listed of why that doesn't matter and how the case should never have made it as far as it did. And then like to say that they would just go after gay marriage because they hate the gays, like, oh come on, that's paranoia, that's stupid. And then with the female and sexual identity rights or whatever, like that's in the civil rights of what was that 1967 or whatever when they passed the Civil Rights Act. That's in there. That's in there.
64.
Yeah,
something like that. That's in there. The gender rights is in there. It's already like, you want to get rid of the Civil Rights Act then? Like, it's like that was a dumb argument there.
I'll be honest, like the one line in this that kind of like threw me off, because he's made mentions to this argument on other shows before, is the overwhelming majority of fertilized eggs never make it past the first 2 weeks. Well, we're talking about an entirely different thing there then. We're talking about the difference between, well, you see, I got this blue paint and this yellow paint. Once they combine, they become green paint. But we don't have green paint yet. Okay, once you combine the two things, now you have green paint.
But
Once
Phil, you know what? Before that, it was all white paint, and we had
uterine wall. You now have green paint.
But it all started with white paint anyway, so none of it matters.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that always stood out to me in that particular. But I'll let you guys go on before I get into my last objection.
And what was he talking about in the very beginning about shattered trust? The fact that it got leaked? Is that what he thinks was the shattered trust?
Okay. It was Sonia Sotomayor. Her quote is, "Will this institution survive the stench that this creates in the public perception that the Constitution and its readings are just political acts? I don't see how that's possible." It's the idea that the legitimacy of the courts now being called into question because it's
he said it was before that. There was a line that said shattered trust specifically. It was before the Sonia Sotomayor.
Okay. Trust between clerks, justices, and court staff at the Supreme Court must be at a 150-year low. I have no insider information, but the private deliberations surrounding decisions between justices and their teams is a critical pillar in the Supreme Court's decision-making process. That trust has been shattered. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it
the
was
trust
The
between
releasing of the document.
yeah, so
Yeah.
How much do you want to bet it was released on purpose? Because
Of course.
if they're going to do this and actually overturn Roe v. Wade, if they just came out and said it and didn't like brace for impact, like what do you do before a really big decision comes down? You kind of you just kind of
if we're
turn that
not like
cost out a
paying
little bit.
attention, and then like just one morning we wake up, oh shit, they overturned Roe v. Wade. Like, dude, whoa,
exactly. That's one of those things that if you don't warm the people up, like that would have been one of those.
And then when it
I
happens,
guess we're putting on the riot gear today, and we're just going to take to the fucking streets. But if you bleed it out just a little bit, little by little,
think of the
then it's not
clerk.
gonna be bad.
Think of the clerk that's reading this, right? Or being forced to write it, and they're thinking like, this can't happen, right? So what can I do? Oh, I can leak it, and that will get my base energized, and maybe try to stop
that too,
so like that's the way I'm looking at it, as far as like that, because I mean, look at if you read that opinion, then it's being overturned, right? You're like, it's 100%.
No matter what John Roberts
it doesn't matter what Roberts says, it's going to be overturned. So there comes a point where like that person doesn't want it to be overturned. So that would be my opinion.
It could be either.
And then
I think you can make the argument either way, that regardless of the intention, like, well, this could prevent it from being overturned, or this could strengthen it being overturned. I think you can make the argument both ways, though, on who leaked it and why.
Yeah, I mean, but if it's already being overturned, like it's almost, I mean, if it's almost 100% going to be overturned, then why would that person jeopardize?
Right.
Why would you take the chance?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So
when they find out who it is, their legal career is over.
Oh yeah, they're done.
Yeah. I mean, they might be able to get a gig on MSNBC, but that's about it.
Oh yeah, they're shoe in for like executive VP of CNN. Yeah,
you would co-host a show with Jen Psaki.
But now, like, I've had some debates back and forth with Nate. Really nice guy. He's one of those like Republican types who like voted for Biden in the end because Trump like didn't stand up for the moral issue, like what that kind of stuff, which I get it, whatever. I don't agree with it because it's like, Trump was a fairly moderate Republican president at best.
I don't get it. Like Biden's not moral. Like
I was just say, there's plenty of reasons I didn't give my vote to Trump, but his moral standing, that wasn't one of them. What the fuck?
He's one of the biggest liars in like he was one of the biggest liars in the government. Like he lied about all his degrees. He lied about
he's been lying in Washington.
He's been lying. I mean, he said some really awful things. Not to mention like
stolen speeches.
Crime bill.
Yeah, the crime bill. I was just getting the crime bill. I mean,
now I only preface that I tell you this information because I'm telling you to understand just how much it had to have hurt him to type out the people who voted for Donald Trump have won. That had to just like hurt so hard. Like, oh, ouch. Why? We've always heard like this is the most important election. No, it turns out 2016 was actually the most important election of our lifetime.
It just smooths itself out.
Tell you what I'll do. If I ever get back, I promise to refabricate you, raging rivers of gold. That's what the brochure advertised. And now we're lost. We gotta take it down. Let you down slow. It's hard to survive.
Yes, folks, you got a K.O.E. Nation fucking duet. I mean, like,
oh Lord,
how lucky are you?
Well, let's see how that.
Oh Lord Almighty God. So, yeah, that was checking out Big Buckin' Empire there at the end, folks. Oh Lord. Now, because I am having such fun here, folks, let me look here. Let me get a little look-see here into the I'm just trying to think of what should I, what? I got perfect. Got it perfect. No, I don't want to play that one. So I'm curious, folks. Do you want to get into some more big bucking, or do you want to get into a review? Let me know in the comments section, because I want to do a little more for you, beautiful people. Then I have to get to farming. It's just there's no ifs, ands, buts, or coconuts about that. So I'm gonna have to get back to my farming ways before too terribly long. But I'd like to leave you all with something nice. So I'm trying to think of something that would just be fun for you. Let's see. But yes, Bandit goes. Pesky needs somebody to circle back. Oh, well, thank you. Review of Spirit, of course. Actually, we finished filming the bourbon tournament. I'm not going to reveal the winner, but I can get into. I actually got a bottle of Van Winkle 10-year that's in the bourbon tournament, and I also got a bottle of William LaRue Weller that's in the tournament. So I'm thinking probably review one of those because it was a pretty hefty. Because one bracket was the Buffalo Trace bracket, Blanton's Gold versus William LaRue Weller, Van Winkle 10-year, Elmer T. Lee. That was one bracket. Another bracket was the budget bracket, which was a lot of like reasonably priced bourbons. One was a Kentucky Outsiders bracket, and then another was just like a Splendor bracket where we put like Elijah Craig 18 and shit like that. I remember you did that last year too. Yep, we do one every year now. It's an annual bourbon tournament. And so I'm actually just gonna go ahead and I'm 50 leaning towards the okay, all right. I know what I'm doing now. Banger. We're going to go with William LaRue Weller. In my opinion, one of the finest whiskeys I've ever had in God's creation. Now, whether it wins the tournament or not is to be seen and to be decided, folks. If you want to know how that goes, you're going to have to subscribe to K.O.E. Nation on YouTube. But yes, my review of William LaRue Weller, amazing shit.
Welcome, one and all, folks, to a very, very special, anticipated.
Is it real?
It's real.
Oh.
It's real. Spirits
It's real.
review, folks, of William LaRue Wellers. I am your king of extreme, Bill K.O.E. You can find me at K.O.E. Nation on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. You can find this guy over here at Tony the Rod 2.0 on TikTok. But folks, you are here this evening for this incredible bourbon and its review, and we're about to fresh crack the seal. And I am joined by my indomitable broadcast partner, the one, the only,
The just baffled, bewildered, befuddled, if you will, Tony fucking G. Like, share, subscribe, and this is going to just, I still can't believe you've acquired such a unicorn and are going to open this bad boy right here, right now.
Well, I decided.
What a first drink of the day.
Yes, I figured while our palates are fresh, let's get into this. But in the words of the great Ernest Hemingway, and it's words I've been living by, never hesitate to kiss a beautiful woman or open a good bottle of whiskey. And so in that particular vein, we're going to get into William LaRue Weller. Big shout out to the store owner who let me know this is coming in town. You know who you are. God bless. So this is 62.65 alcohol by volume, 125.3 proof. To date, this will be the highest reviewed bourbon ever reviewed.
The highest proof?
Yes.
Really?
I think we've had some higher proof other spirits, but this will be the highest proof bourbon ever reviewed here at K.O.E. Nation, and it's William LaRue Weller, folks.
It's happening.
So, yep, I'm breaking the seal. It's happening. No going back.
It's open.
Oh, my.
Lovely.
I was about to say
Lovely.
soft and subtle.
Is that a synthetic or is that a real cork?
That's real.
Real cork?
Oh, my.
Bill K.O.E. William LaRue Weller 2024. I like it.
Oh. Yeah, quite quite excited for this.
And a perfect use for wee Glen Karens, to be frank.
This is not one you want to do a Russo pour on.
No. And we'll be using these for when this is entered in the Sweet 16 Bourbon Tournament this year. It's going to be having some pretty stiff competition. Van Winkle 10-year, Elmer T. Lee, and Blanton's Gold.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, yeah, 125 proof. I thought, had we not done 127? Wasn't that a Booker's?
Maybe. You might be correct.
I think
you might
just
be.
barely. A Booker's just beat it out, and maybe one other. But yeah, I mean, this is
Well, you know, folks,
much higher than
KOE Nation super fans, be sure to let us know in the comments. But
uncut, unfiltered, limited edition barrel proof Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. William LaRue Weller. Oh my goodness. Well, that breeds.
And while we breathe.
Yes, while we breathe. Born in 1825, William LaRue Weller was one of the early whiskey pioneers of Kentucky. After serving in the Louisville Brigade during the 1840s, William LaRue Weller remained in Louisville and continued his family heritage in the whiskey business. Weller was famous for his Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey using wheat instead of rye in the mash bill. As one of the most distinguished of his time, William LaRue Weller spent many years educating consumers about the different styles of bourbon and the special flavors that wheat imparted to his whiskey in particular. William LaRue Weller also believed in the importance of aging his whiskey, and to this day, Weller bourbon continues to be aged longer than most. The combination of exceptional aging and the use of wheat in the mash bill produce a whiskey with a very mature, rich, and exotic aroma. Its flavors have been described as we'll
get into that.
Well, actually, yeah. We don't want to put the cart before the horse here, folks. Like its namesake, this uncut and unfiltered wheated Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey is strong, proud, and enduring. A tribute to the legacy of William LaRue Weller.
Tony, I'm not going to spoil for you what I've been getting on the nose.
All right.
Take a good nose, but you're going to be shocked that it's going to remind you of something.
Oh. Ooh.
Ah, that beautiful wheat, though.
There's a chocolately sweetness on the end of that.
I was going to say dark chocolate on the nose.
Wow.
And also I get a hint of raspberry.
Ooh, okay. Wait a minute. Okay.
Because, all right, now, Tony, we haven't tried it on the palate yet, but just on the nose.
It's
going to
generally
sound
aged
almost
about
like
8 to 9
sacrilege
years.
to some Buffalo Trace lovers, but you're going to understand this is high praise from me.
All right.
Okay. The nose, because it's heavy in the wheat, has moments where it reminds me of that coppery maker's mark on the very expensive private selects.
Okay.
And then, but replace the apple that you get with the raspberry, add the dark chocolate, because that's not there in any maker's mark you'll ever find. So if you're a lover of the private selects, which I am, I've got about 6 on my shelf over there.
A lot of red tops over there.
Yeah, that's big praise for me. But does that not remind you of that wheater aspect?
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're going with this. You're right. There's an adjacent nose here, but some of the profiles have been replaced.
Well, I'm guessing the esters that are made in this distillation process are going to be entirely different from the esters that are made in Maker's Mark. Because now, I just always bring this up as a little trivia fact. For those who don't know, esters are the chemical in fruit that gives it its smell. And in some distillation processes, those same chemicals will be made in the whiskey. So that's why you smell certain fruits.
This is a fantastic nose. Now, granted, this is a very, very sought after bottle. Expectations are high, but so far, just on the nose alone.
Oh yeah, this is a 5-star nose. If we were grading whiskeys only on their nose, this would be up there.
This is lovely.
And this does not smell like 125.
No,
I remember that 1792 store pick, and that was like it smelled every bit of it.
Every bit of full proof. This is the life. I would like to get this in a car air freshener if I could.
If you didn't know what this was, what would you guess? It's proof just on smell. Let's wait till we get to taste. That might.
I would say 95.
I was gonna say 93.
Yeah.
Wow.
A little over 90, but not much. Yeah, this is delightful.
Yeah, this is a pleasant bouquet of nose smells.
This is beautiful.
And they all match together too. Like we've
nothing...
had some noses where it's got all this stuff all over the place, but it's all
instead
over
of
the place.
shooting out in different directions, they're all uniting.
Looking
together.
at you, Scotch. But
it almost seems like a shame to drink this.
It's kind of like you want to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
But Tig, this is for science, okay?
If it's for science.
These are the sacrifices we make for science and you, the KOE Nation.
My God.
That's warm.
Oh, baby. Woo! Oh, yeah. That hits the spot. Damn, that's nice. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, the spice is
it's good. It's really freaking good.
Oh, yeah. It's like hot cinnamon.
Oh, my God.
But imagine stewed raspberries.
I was going to say the raspberries
are
are there.
A lot of cinnamon.
They're there. And
That's that. The dark chocolate's there for a second in the beginning, but then it gives way to everything else we just described.
Yeah, there's you're right. Stewed raspberry, just wow. It coats your palate, and it encases your tongue with almost a waxy feel, but a delightful one at that. And as that dissipates, then that stewed raspberry really starts coming through on the finish.
What I've noticed, what really helps with these high proof bourbons, not like really swishing it in your mouth in the traditional way, because you get a lot of oxygen in there, and that allows for a lot of chemical reactions.
Oh, wow.
I keep my mouth very closed, my cheeks in, very little room for the tongue, and I let the liquid go around there, let less oxygen in. Really lets you consider it. And yeah, this one's just like mouth watering. I mean, you can see I'm having.
Well, I'm doing this research
this
for you,
is just
Bandit.
delicious.
It's like at 125 proof.
Not all
it
heroes
makes your
wear
mouth
capes.
water, and it makes you want to drink more, which is so dangerous.
Like I can see why they do this at 125 because at 90, like they could water it down to 93.
No,
probably sell even more of them, and then because they would have more, but it would go down too easy.
There's probably a product out there that we don't even know that they do that with.
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
That's a different
Buffalo Trace
distillery.
nerds. Let us know. But yeah, tonight is William LaRue Weller night, and this is a spectacular way to start the evening.
Oh my God. That's beautiful. A+.
Yeah, with each drink,
wow,
the spice becomes less, but that cinnamon's still there.
Yes.
But it doesn't like, now Grant, this is our first drink of the day. This is because I figured let's just do it right. But after you get past that roller coaster spice cinnamon ride of the first taste, it becomes just marvelous raspberry, because I'm guessing there's quite a few esters in here that would match a raspberry ester or some red fruit, and it's just gorgeous. I can see why this is the head of the William LaRue Weller line. And Tony, I think I'm just going to go ahead and call it right now. This is now officially an entrant into the 2022 Bourbon Tournament.
That's
the
a heavy hitter.
And it's going in the heaviest hitter of brackets. Like I mentioned earlier, folks, this one will be going up against Van Winkle 10-year. Elmer T. Lee, we've already reviewed that one, and it's gorgeous. Blanton's Gold, we've already reviewed that one, and it's gorgeous. So, folks, we'll see if this one makes it to the Final Four. But before we get there, we need to get to the grading of this particular bourbon. And, Tony, you know it, but for the folks at home, we grade this on a 5-star scale. 5 meaning you have to have it before you shuffle off this mortal coil. 0 meaning pass it on by. The KOE Nation has advised you well. So we're going to grade this as a bourbon, as a whiskey, as a cask-aged spirit. It's shelving. And for those new to the show, the secret 5th question. So, Tony, as a bourbon on a 5-star scale, what would you give this?
5. It's 5-star bourbon. That's outstanding. Like this is a 5-star bourbon.
All right, now Tony,
here you go.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh shit.
Except actually, I'm not going to disagree with you at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bam! 5 stars as a bourbon.
That's magical.
This is what bourbon should be.
Yep.
This is
That's an achievement.
Tony, this is the only bottle that has surpassed barrel 450 Blanton's. Okay? I still have that barrel.
Man.
I still have that bottle in my safe. Okay? Like, that's how much I'm holding back that bottle. Because
Wow.
it's just caramel in a glass, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I will love it and cherish it during some special occasion, but this is so much more complex and beautiful and gorgeous. And the more you come back to it, the dark chocolate starts to come back a bit more.
It's, like
that
you said,
raspberry never goes away.
like you
It's
said,
just there the whole time.
Just like on the nose, like the flavors do not run away from each other. They marry together in just a beautiful unison. Yeah. 5 stars bourbon.
But yeah, that end still has that heavy cinnamon spice. So I'm sure
there's a little extra spice there.
You're
That's,
just
it's
hating
not just cinnamon too. There's another spice there. I
Yeah.
can't put my finger on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Heavy cinnamon, like
Yeah.
because I can't quite like it's not like a curry punch. I can't think of what it is. But you're right. There's a like.
Yeah.
I remember one time I made a comparison of if you muddled cinnamon and allspice together.
Mm-hmm.
But with that drink we were drinking, put in more allspice and cinnamon. This one, reverse it. More cinnamon than allspice. The spice must flow.
Oh wow.
The 3 Dune
Beautiful.
fans in the audience are just losing it. But so that is our grade, 5 stars as a bourbon. Now, as a whiskey.
As a whiskey, I'm gonna say 4.5. Easy 4.5. It's a high proof. It's definitely spicy, which some beginners might not appreciate. Like if you're just starting in whiskey, this is something you work your way up to.
I was about to say,
you start out with this, it's going to ruin whiskey.
I wanted to go 4.75, but you're right because this is not a beginner's whiskey, and this is not something you should cocktail with.
If you cocktail this, you're getting a slap. You're getting a slap.
Gotta slap you, like yes.
Yeah.
Slappy, slap. In a video game.
Allegedly.
But yes. All right, we got that in. All right, now we move on to cask aged spirits, and I think we're both going to say the same thing, aren't we?
Depends. What are you doing? Because you've gone off the rails before. I'm going to say 5.
I was going to stay on the rails and go with you.
Okay.
5 stars as a cask aged spirit.
Yeah, the ingredients here, the mash bills here, and they do it perfectly.
Because this is art in cask aging.
Yep, this is beautiful.
I cannot begrudge this in any way.
When you
This
get
is
the
beautiful.
flavor profile to connect in such a way and just be beautiful together and be able to still pick out different flavors, that's perfect. And they're not fighting each other. They're together. Again, it's just a perfect unison.
Oh, God, this is gorgeous.
This is amazing.
The rest of the evening's reviews are going to be disappointments. Now, is there really any dispute? Like, this isn't going to even go on my top shelf. This is going to go into my secret whiskey vault that most people don't know exists. So
Except
that
for everybody watching.
Yes. Well, most of them aren't going to be coming over to Castle K.O.E. all that much.
Well, they are now.
Yeah, true. I got a feeling in the comments there's going to be some people like, hey, can I come over?
Just found Castle K.O.E. on the Google Maps, Bill. I'll be there in 20.
Good luck. I mean, I am in the middle of nowhere.
True.
So,
For a
but,
reason.
yes. So moving right along.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put this in with my liqueurs and my rum and my but yeah, of course it's a top shelf. Come on.
Yeah.
My God.
Now the secret 5th question is, when this bottle runs empty, will I seek another? Well, yes.
You're always going to be seeking another.
Yes, from pretty much
That doesn't make
from here until when I'm like 85 and my doctor says you have to stop drinking or else some internal organ's just gonna not work anymore. Then like that'll be it's like until that day. And even then, if I find one, I'll probably still buy
But I
one.
can still nip off my flask, Doc, right?
No.
Winky face.
Even then, I'll probably still buy a bottle of this just to put it on the shelf as bragging rights.
True.
And then, like have the grandkids fight over it. So
It'll only be like
when
a
I'm gone.
$5,000 bottle that day. Come that time down.
Come inflation, yeah. But I mean, at the same time, a Coke will be like $500.
Yeah, this is something you're definitely going to seek out. But
Yes. Now, again, will I seek another bottle? Yes. The price that I paid USD was not secondary. It was not. It was significantly under secondary.
You did get a good deal on this.
It was a little more than retail, but it was one of those, the stars just aligned. I happened to even be in town that day. Like, I was like, oh, God, really? Okay. I mean, I'll stop by and look at it. And then I looked at it.
And you knew, but you knew when you hung up the phone.
It was
you weren't just looking at it.
Oh, I was doing the Homer Simpson driving there, like, oh, no, you don't. That trampoline is mine. Like, nobody else knew about it. But, like, it's like, so, yeah, you're right. I knew.
This is like going to the strip club and saying, I'm going to sit in the back. I'm not going to throw any dollars on stage. And then you end up driving through the drive-through marriage, and you wake up with a wife the next day. But no regrets.
I was about to say, other than that part, I was about to say, I don't know about that's an interesting story there, T. But yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So yes, I will seek another bottle of this, but not at full secondary.
No. I this is one, like, I'm not going to go out
but
of my way.
I can see why people pay it, though.
I understand why. But the whole point of this hobby is to get a good bargain on a good bottle. This is a great bottle. And when I acquire one, I would like to be able to say, I got it for MSRP. So that's what I'm going to specifically look for if I ever come across this. There's no reason to pay the insane markup prices for something that doesn't need to be. And that goes for Irish, Scotch, all whiskey.
But especially bourbon nowadays.
Especially bourbon now.
I was about to say. Now, granted, you're all here because you're curious, because you're wondering how this will stack up. Well, folks, don't worry, because in the Sweet 16 Bourbon Tournament, we're going to have all kinds of comparative data for you to... Down boy. Wow. Okay. Don't worry, you're going to get a chance to try some more at the Sweet 16 Bourbon Tournament that's coming up here real soon, folks. William LaRue Weller versus Elmer T. Lee versus Van Winkle 10 versus Blanton's Gold, folks. So you're going to need to be right here, subscribed to the K.O.E. Nation to see how that goes down, folks. But T, anything you'd like to say to the folks?
This is magic in a bottle. And this definitely lived up to the hype. It not only met the expectations, but it did surpass them. Bravo. And one more time, bravo.
We now need to find the unicorn that cried into this bottle and just...
I'm sorry to call this short, everybody, but I have a family emergency that just came up. So, folks, I'm going to cut this one short. I'm going to have to get going. Thank you. God bless. Travel well.